On her wedding night, the bride had her maid serve the groom, while she remained alone in her room. It turns out she was a renowned female general. Her husband, however, was known as a simp. Initially, he agreed to marry into the Su family to clear their daughter's name. 3 years into their marriage, he hadn't even touched his wife, but just a glance every day was enough to satisfy me. Half a month ago, Shen Lang suddenly fell seriously ill, on the verge of death. His body was taken over by Shen Lang, someone with the same name from the modern world. Upon waking up, Shen Lang was ecstatic, because he was now incredibly handsome. You have to know, in his original world, he was so ugly he had no right to procreate. Almost no girl dared to look at him for more than a second. Although he possessed supreme status and wealth, he still couldn't win the favor of women. Thinking of this, Shen Lang felt elated. Heaven has been kind to me. Although I'm a live-in son-in-law in name only, but at least he has a wife with 36 D breasts. Little did he know, it was he who had poisoned Shen Lang in advance, to make him seriously ill and die, so she could marry the governor's son. At this moment, seeing him in perfect health, Su Qianqian's face twisted with rage. After a brief pause, she teared up and said, "I'm so glad you're fine." She was genuinely worried sick. Her ability to get into character so quickly probably surpasses even first-tier actors. She totally took Shen Lang for a fool. At this moment, Shen Lang's worldview was shattered. This Su Qianqian was completely different from the one in his memories. She's clearly a manipulative two-faced woman. Turns out being a simp can really beautify memories. Watching her tactfully suggest that he go home to visit his family, Shen Lang knew this was her way of getting rid of him. But I'm supposed to be a fool. How could I understand your hint? Su Qianqian looks just as clueless. She really is a fool. What should I do if I can't understand human speech? We're both sons of a governor. Zhang Jin kicked the door. The two of them are idiots. Why are you wasting your breath with him? Now Su Qianqian is my fiancé. You can go back to your doghouse in the countryside now. Shen Lang then realized that he had been dumped again, and Su Qianqian was still friend-zoning him. I'm sorry, Lang Lang. You're a good person, but we're really not right for each other. The next second, Shen Lang readily agreed to go home, just because of a merchant family's soft meal. He looked down upon it. Now, the sky is vast, the sea is wide, and people and birds fly. After the two left, Shen Lang smiled like a peach blossom, hastily took a small mirror to check himself. With my handsome face, of course. A rich heiress is my target. Su Qianqian thinks I'm a loser. Well, I look down on you too. Su Jiazheng overhears Su Qianqian saying outside the door. That Jin Mulan of the Xuanwu Earl's mansion is incredibly skilled in martial arts and devastatingly beautiful. Shen Lang's eyes light up. Yes, within 100 miles, the rich and powerful single lady. Jin Mulan, that's you, right? As for the Su family, I, Shen Lang, will always take revenge. Not long after I finished speaking, the housekeeper dragged me out and kicked me out the door. He also announced the annulment of the engagement on the grounds that I had molested a maid in the house. This way, they protected Su Qianqian's reputation, and could justifiably break off the engagement. But I didn't care at all, just silently made a note of it in my mind. Now, she's more concerned about her face. Little does she know, the Su family has already prepared to silence her. Sure enough, on his way home, he was stopped. Looking at the bottomless pit, it was clear they intended to bury him alive. In this desperate situation, Shen Lang activated his X-ray vision. I found a silver needle in Fei Shou Tianheng's heart. If it's not removed in time, it will travel to his brain, and he will surely die. Shen Lang wanted to remove the needle in exchange for his escape. Unexpectedly, Tianheng refused to let him go, even if it meant death. He claimed that Shen Lang's brother owed him 100 gold coins, and threatened to kill his entire family if he didn't come forward. Shen Lang then remembered his father going to the Su family to visit relatives, and being beaten by their servants. My younger brother, to borrow money for his medical treatment, only borrowed 5 gold coins. Unexpectedly, with the accumulating interest, he has to repay 100 gold coins. Just as the bandit's knife was about to fall, Shen Lang shouted, 10 times. Within 10 days, I'll give you 1,000 gold. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at each other in surprise, but Tianheng only gave him 3 days. It seems that the time he agreed upon with the Su family was also 3 days. After reaching an agreement, Shen Lang gave him a blood oath as proof. After writing it, Shen Lang realized that what seemed like a simple gesture of biting his finger on TV actually hurt like hell. But Tianheng felt a vague sense of apprehension. So efficient and decisive. This doesn't seem like someone with low intelligence. To be safe, Tianheng sent 2 assassins to follow him day and night. Instead of going to get the money, Shen Lang went home to visit his family first. His father was crawling around at home. She wouldn't listen to her mother's advice, and insisted on going to the Su family's house to see her son. She threatened to kill herself by running into their gate if she couldn't see him. Although her younger brother's leg was broken, he was determined to see his older brother, even if it meant being beaten to death. Hearing his mother's helpless cries, Shen Lang pushed open the door and knelt before them. Father, mother, your son is unfilial. I'm back. seeing her son return. My old mother was already in tears. While kowtowing, Su Lang said, I was blinded by folly. I will never return to the Su family again. Before he could finish, his mother embraced him. My son has finally come to his senses. It turns out that just not replying is enough to be considered sensible. They really spoil Shen Lang too much. It's also because the old Shen Lang was such a disgrace. Thinking of this, Shen Lang bowed to his father and apologized. At this moment, the elderly couple realized their son had suddenly become clever. Yet, they had no doubt at all. Their love for their son had already surpassed everything. But Shen Lang discovered through his X-ray vision that his father's lungs and stomach were severely congested with blood. His ribs were also fractured. His younger brother's fractures had already become inflamed. If left untreated, he might end up crippled. Yet his younger brother was still immersed in the joy of the reunion, completely unaware. He even joked that if he ended up crippled, he would go to Xuanwu City to scam a bride price from his brother. I thought only the two elderly were obsessed with pampering. I didn't expect that the younger brother would also spoil his husband like crazy. The next day, Shen Lang still hadn't gone to raise money. Instead, he went up the mountain to gather herbs. In his past life, he was the world's top physician. In this life, with his X-ray vision, treating illnesses is even easier. He quickly drained the blood stasis from his father using acupuncture. Seeing his superb medical skills, his mother and younger brother praised him for his hidden brilliance. With this skill, you don't need to marry that widowed you. Open a clinic later, save enough money, and marry the village chief's daughter. Shen Lang spat out his drink upon hearing this. Mom, can you broaden your horizons? Shen Lang walked out the door, chuckling. His expression turned serious the moment he stepped outside. The two assassins outside were a constant reminder that he had 2 days left. If he couldn't come up with 1,000 gold pieces, his whole family would die. The next day, he set off for Xuanwu City. Halfway there, Tian Shirsan finally lost his patience. Shen Lang, I know you're stalling. I'm tired of this. How about I send you on your way right now? Yeah, 1,000 jin is decades of savings for a wealthy family. It's indeed impossible for ordinary people. But I, Shen Lang, am not an ordinary person. I don't need 2 days. Today will do. I can earn 1,000 jin in 3 hours. Half an hour later, Shen Lang arrived at the Lin family's residence, the largest silk merchant in Xuanwu City. I'm going to make a killing here. I chose the Lin family, because they are the Su family's rivals. Shen Lang boasted as soon as he entered. Call your head of the family out here. I want to make a big deal with him. I'll make him at least 5,000 gold more every year. After hearing this, Lin Mo, the head of the Lin family, showed a look of disdain. But, being a businessman, he decided to hear him out. When Shen Lang said he had a formula to sell him for 2,000 gold pieces, Lin Mo immediately stood up to see him off. Tian Shirsan couldn't help but want to hit him. You really are an idiot, asking for 2,000 gold pieces right off the bat. But Shen Lang directly, a golden handkerchief was displayed. Lin Mo saw it, and jumped up in surprise. How could there be golden fabric? Shen Lang said calmly. The Su family prospered, because their silk was completely yellow. It was exclusively supplied to the national army. If the Lin family sends this golden silk to the nationalist army, the Su family will be completely swept into the trash heap. The Lin family will also become the richest in Xuanwu City. It's clear that Lin Mo is tempted. But he still doesn't believe in Shen Lang's abilities. He demands that Shen Lang accomplish the same feat within an hour. Shen Lang says it's no problem, but it will cost 2,000 gold, no negotiation. Lin Mo agreed without a second thought. Tian Shirsan was stunned by the scene. She couldn't believe it. He could really earn 2,000 gold, and use underhanded methods to take revenge on the Su family. It was terrifying. Little did she know, Shen Lang had already made the golden dye while brewing medicine last night. In fact, the liquid brewed from his sleeve, combined with alum, would turn golden. However, people in this world only know to use gardenias to make yellow. This is a world of difference. As expected, Shen Lang made the golden handkerchief again. Lin Mo took one look, and was as happy as a child. I finally got this formula. But the next second, the Su family head and Su Qianqian came knocking. How dare you, Shen Lang, steal my Su family's secret formula. It turns out Lin Mo secretly did a favor for the Su family, because Su family's son-in-law, Zhang Jin, can help his son achieve success. There's no business without deception. I, Shen Lang, will remember this. In the face of the Su family's patriarch's scolding and Su Qianqian's false kindness, Shen Lang's expression showed no signs of fluctuation. At this moment, the officials arrived. Su Qianqian tried to persuade him to admit that he had stolen the new formula. It was because he couldn't bear being abandoned, which led to a moment of confusion. Perhaps at this moment, Shen Lang admits his guilt. The Su family might not pursue the matter due to their pride, but these people all underestimated Shen Lang. At this moment, Shen Lang laughed wildly at the sky. You say I stole it. What evidence do you have? The head of the Lin family said, you, Amir, a recognized fool. How could he possibly develop the formula? My Su family has been deeply involved in the silk industry for decades. So you're saying you have no proof? So if I produce a die better than the one just now, won't everything be clear? And you officials will have nothing to say. Next, Shenlang will add the litmus. After being crushed, coal and urine are added and boiled together. This is how the purple dye, never seen before in this era, is made. Little did they know, the Su family had secretly developed a new purple dye. Moreover, the craftsman's recipe book had already used the formula long ago. Look at the handwriting on it. It's from some time ago. This means that Shenlang stole the formula. At this point, the authorities are about to arrest someone. But Shenlang pushed open the doors and said, "I'll show you what true purple looks like." Under this dazzling light, everyone was stunned. They had never seen such a radiant girl. However, this wasn't enough. He then sneered and reached into his chest, and as he pulled something out, the surroundings shimmered, dazzlingly bright. It turns out that Shenlang's true trump card is the rainbow worm. This is his technique of segmental dyeing. He creates the dazzling masterpiece by blending red, orange, green, yellow, and blue dyes on a single piece of fabric. Even the officials can't bear to put it down once they get their hands on it. This is truly a masterpiece of craftsmanship. The lecherous man looks expressionless. When the head of the Su family asks him again to investigate whether Shenlang is a thief, the magistrate left without a word. Su Chanshan apologized to Shenlang on the surface, but secretly, she was fuming. What's wrong with that magistrate one? Doesn't he know I'm Zhang Jin's wife? I must tell Zhang Jin when I get back. There can't be any officials in Xuanwu City who are hostile to the Su family. And what's going on with Shenlang? Why do I feel like I've missed something? Little did I know, the reason Shenlang dared to go downstairs with the Su family was because he knew that this magistrate had a grudge with Zhang Jin for 3 years. 3 years ago, Shenlang was attacked by a grizzly bear. Fortunately, he was saved by a female general. Later, when reviewing his memories, Shenlang discovered that she was Jean Mulan from the Earl's estate. At the time, she not only kindly treated his injuries, and assigned this registrar to tutor me. During their free time, I learned that he and Zhang Jing were sworn enemies. That's why I dared to gamble today. Although the crisis has been resolved for now, it's only temporary. Every step I take now is like walking on thin ice. One wrong move and I'll be doomed. Now he has to turn things around quickly. On his way home, Su Chanshan appears again. Shenlang, I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to secretly learn dyeing from me. Why didn't you tell me before? You could have come back. I would have supported you every month. Faced with his self-delusion, Shenlang didn't even bother to respond, until he added, "Don't forget, you still owe Tianheng 1,000 gold. Shenlang's eyes widened upon hearing this. How did you know I wouldn't see the formula before nightfall? Shenlang, you understand him. Tian Shisan also reminded, you have 7 hours left. You can run, but you can't hide. I know you care about your family. Before sunset, I'll go to your house to collect the money." It turns out Tianheng already told the Su family everything. Even if Shenlang does hand over the money, it won't help. Tonight, the gang will definitely threaten Shenlang's family's lives to get the formula. Even if I hand over the formula, unless I'm a slave to the Su family for the rest of my life, my family will never have peace. Thinking of this, Shenlang silently looked up at the sky. I must solve this problem once and for all. Meanwhile, the Earl's army rushed back to the city. The Red Armored General turning back was Jean Mulan. At this moment, Shenlang finally waited. "Wife, 3 years ago you saved me once. Why don't you save me again, and then take me home?" Thinking of this, Shenlang walked toward his horse. The horse's hooves slapped Shenlang's face with a loud bang. The people behind him were sent flying through the air. Jean Mulan shouted loudly, dismounted, and walked up to Shenlang. What a handsome man. He looks kind of familiar. Listen up, generals. We cannot let civilians die under our watch. Take him to the Earl's mansion for treatment. At this moment, Shenlang squinted, not daring to move. Shen Riqian, the moment that decides your fate has arrived. Can you save the Shen family this time? Can you kill Su Jiagan and Tianheng? Can you live a life of luxury and wealth? It all depends on how you perform next. The girl is getting married tomorrow, but tonight she disfigures herself. As a strong-willed and heroic woman, she would rather protect the family business and remain single for life. But after all, the other party is a top-tier conglomerate, and he's also related to the king by marriage. We can't offend him. Just as her parents were in a dilemma, a little beggar burst through the door, and demanded to marry Mulan. Her father was already furious, and this was the last straw. Fortunately, her mother intervened. This child is Mulan's second fool daughter who returned a couple of days ago. Why bother arguing with her? But Shenlang said, at this point, the only solution is for Mulan to marry and bring in a son-in-law tonight. That way, the family will know when to back off. This doesn't sound like a fool. Such words could only be spoken by someone wise. Before they could be surprised, Jean Zhuo listed 5 candidates for the son-in-law position. However, Jean Mulan took the initiative to propose adding Shenlang to the list. It was simply because he had grown tired of the deception and scheming. On the contrary, he was very fond of Shenlang's pure heart and mind. When her father saw this, he was about to stop her. But then he realized that his concern was unnecessary. Mulan was just kind-hearted and sympathetic. How could they choose an idiot? But little did they know, this was all part of Shenlang's goddess freeloading plan. Joining the list of potential grooms is the first step. Next, it's my turn, Shenlang, to sweep the board. This ancient groom finding scene is quite interesting. 6 young men were assigned to 6 different rooms. And the judge is Jean Mulan. Time is of the essence. He immediately began the rich husband selection process. The first candidate was Wang Lian, the city registrar of Xuanwu. Jean Mulan asked him what he could offer her after marriage. What can you give me? Wang Lian had admired Jean Mulan since childhood, and knew she valued the earl's century-old legacy. He promised to pass the imperial examination and become a jincher after marriage, representing both literary and martial prowess. I will make the earl's mansion even more prosperous. After hearing this, Jimulan gave a polite curtsy. He posed the same question to the next few candidates. Their answers were all very similar. But when it was Shenlang's turn, he said, what I can give you is freedom. As long as you don't cheat on me, you can do whatever you want. Actually, Shenlang can offer so much. First, his clairvoyance allows him to see where his meridians are blocked during cultivation. He can also improve the Earl's Mansion's steel smelting techniques by 5 times. If a woman is on her period, he can even act as a doctor. But Shenlang understands. None of this could truly move him. At this moment, Mulan's face flushed red, a rare sight. What the heck is sneaking around with a man? He really is a fool. He doesn't have a clue. Watching him leave in a huff, Shenlang's lips curled into a confident smirk. He doesn't have a clue. My titanium alloy dog eyes have already seen through his little scheme. As expected, when Mulan returned to her room, Jean Gui said in front of her parents that she had chosen Shenlang as her husband. Jean Chua immediately couldn't sit still. Are you crazy? There are so many talented individuals, and you chose him. It turns out that Mulan understood deeply that each of them was exceptionally talented. If her father is not an issue now, what about 100 years from now? If my husband rebels and seizes power, the Jin clan will surely be destroyed. But Shenlang wants nothing, only that Mulan doesn't take off her men's clothing. He'll do anything. Mulan thought, if I marry him, the Jin family's foundation will certainly be secure. All of this is for my parents, for my family. Besides, Mulan only has one requirement for a husband, that he be handsome. Clearly, Shenlang is definitely a refined scholar in that regard. Biting my lip hard, I'm really suffering for my Mulan, because that useless son of ours. In the end, it's all up to his sister to make the sacrifice. Thinking of this, he grabbed his whip, about to lash out at his son to vent his anger. Seeing this, his wife immediately stopped him. Wait, husband. I'll whip him with you. And so, the second son got off scot-free, and got a severe beating. Meanwhile, the military general Jingjong found Shenlang. At this moment, Shenlang knew he had won. From now on, he would be the son-in-law of the most prestigious family in Xuanwu City. Those who plotted against me, none of you are getting away. At this moment, Shenlang thought, someone is trying to harm me. Although his parents disliked him greatly, he was still the future young master of the Earl's Mansion. This concerned the Jin family's reproductive interests, so they couldn't ignore it. Immediately, Jin Zhong said, Young Master Shen, please rest assured, I will ensure your family's safety. On the other side, outside the city, the gangster Tianheng has ordered that Shenlang's entire family be captured. After handing over the formula, they will all be killed. At this moment, both the underworld and the legitimate world in Xuanwu City are in motion because of Shenlang. The legitimate world is celebrating with wedding invitations. The underworld, on the other hand, wants to kill Shenlang's entire family. But what they don't know is, Shenlang is about to marry Jean Mulan. It was Tian Shirsan who kicked open the door to Shenlang's house. But he saw his old, weak, sick, and disabled family prepared to fight to the death. Tian Shirsan sneered. He was about to make his move, when he was stopped by the golden bell of the Earl's Mansion. My master would like to invite Mr. Shen and his family to the wedding. Would you please allow us? Tian Shirsan broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing this. Why would the Earl's Mansion invite a poor family to the wedding? Did Shenlang do something? No matter what, he wouldn't dare to stop it. Seeing the regular army that had been lying in wait outside coming in, Tian Shirsan felt even more wary. These people were specifically waiting for us to arrive. What exactly did Shenlang do? Wait until Shenlang's entire family is carried away in the sedan. Tian Shirsan's legs went weak, and he collapsed beside his men. His men were still completely bewildered. But Tian Shirsan said this was all Shenlang's doing. Pray he doesn't have deep connections with the Earl's Mansion, he said. Otherwise, we'll all have to go home and say goodbye to our parents, wives, and children. Meanwhile, the Earl's Mansion was brightly lit and filled with dignitaries and nobles. Among them were Shenlang's ex-wife Su Qianxian and Zhang Jin. They were still wondering what kind of talented man could marry Jean Mulan. Little did they know what was actually inside the small bridal sedan chair. According to the local custom of matrilocal marriage, the groom had to be carried from the bride's house to the temple. and then back again for the wedding ceremony. It was just like when a young bride joins her husband's family. Seeing the bridal sedan chair approaching, the Earl and Countess, also dressed to the nines, appeared. Following the official's announcement, Shen Lang, wearing a mask, lifted the curtain. At this moment, Su Qianqian and Tianheng were instantly reminded of Xiliang. This figure, it can't be wrong. The groom is actually Shen Lang. The Lin family head was also thunderstruck. He was the one who betrayed Shen Lang back then. If he becomes the Earl's son-in-law, it would be a disaster. Meanwhile, Jean Mulan arrives in magnificent attire, exuding an imposing presence. Within her strength, there's a touch of tenderness. Next, the two perform the marriage rites. Just as they are about to enter the bridal chamber, Xuanwu Qingzhu and Lu Wuyan arrive unexpectedly. What a hero! Only such a man is worthy of Miss Mulan. Why not remove your mask and let the world see? Then, General Pingnan, Zhujia's son, also arrived. Shen Lang beat him to it and married Jean Mulan. He married Jean Mulan, costing Zhujia his chance with Liani. Of course, Zhujia wouldn't let it go. What kind of outstanding young man is worthy of Mulan's daughter? Remove your mask. Let me see. Shen Lang glanced at Jean Mulan. Seeing her nod, Shen Lang removed his mask without hesitation. At this moment, everyone was in an uproar. Tianheng instantly broke out in a cold sweat. This is a huge problem. What's even more frustrating is Su Qianqian. How is this possible? The Count's family is such a prestigious family. How could she choose to be with a reckless fool? Little did she know, Zhang Jin beside her was trembling. The woman I don't even dare to hope to be with, actually chose to marry a good-for-nothing. Then he threw his head back and laughed. This wedding is a sham, isn't it? That Shen Lang studied for 10 years, and didn't even learn 1,000 characters. He was expelled again for harassing the maids. How could the dignified Mulan Jean fall for such a loser? At this moment, the surrounding people joined in the mockery. Shen Lang's former classmate, Yan Xiong, stated, back then, he wasn't just intellectually challenged, he was practically brain dead. When Shen Lang saw this, he immediately understood that Yan Xiong had latched onto the Zhang family. He then said, you say I'm brain dead, do you have any proof? Yan Xiong laughed out loud. He had someone bring over brush, ink, paper, and inkstone and wrote 3 big characters. He said that if Shen Lang could recognize them, then he wasn't brain dead. Everyone looked on. These 3 characters are simple, but, yet they cannot be recognized. Zhang Jin is also waiting for Shen Lang to take revenge. Little does he know, Lord Lang has a laptop in his head. He just follows the notes in the database. The first character is pronounced the same as a forehead. It signifies something deadly. The pronunciation of the second character is flawed. The word you also means royal family or aristocracy. This third character is even rarer. Shen Lang immediately read out 4 different pronunciations. Yet Yan Xiong, being just a scholar, only knew 2 of the pronunciations. Seeing him collapse weakly, Shen Lang retorted, you haven't even learned all the pronunciations, and you're bold enough to come and test me. Then Shen Lang wrote down dozens of obscure characters. He turned around and tested Yan Xiong. If you can recognize even 4 of these, I'll go crazy. Yan Xiong took the paper and looked at it. Confidently, he read out the only 4 characters he recognized. I'm a fool. Literal translation, I'm a stupid cunt. As soon as he said this, the whole room fell silent. Then everyone burst into laughter. Even Mulan couldn't help but smile. At this moment, Yan Xiong's teacher, Zhang Boyan, had lost all face. To regain his honor, he immediately wrote another character. Seeing the light emanating from the character, the husband and wife were startled at first, but Shen Lang quickly recognized it. I know this character, but in this era, it might not be pronounced this way. Seeing this, Yan Xiong went mad again. You don't recognize this character, do you? But Shen Lang said to Magistrate Zhang, if I'm not mistaken, you don't know how to pronounce this character either, do you? He nodded. Shen Lang figured it out. What a coincidence. I happen to know how to pronounce this character. At this moment, Yan Xiong stepped forward and acted shamelessly. It's impossible that even the teacher doesn't know how to pronounce it. He could only try to explain it by referring to the context of the ancient text. No one knows how to pronounce it at all. But Shen Lang said, what if I know how to pronounce it? Can you explain what he means? How about you slap yourself? If I am wrong, I will slap myself. Yan Xiong heard this, and excitedly clapped his hands, thinking he had wanted to slap him for a long time. But Shen Lang directly said this character sounds the same as, and this character has the same meaning as ci, meaning time or instance. Hearing this, Zhang Boyan was dumbfounded. This kind of character with no known origin, how could he possibly know it? He could deny Shen Lang's answer, but other people have also studied that inscription. If Shen Lang were to expose him, his reputation would be ruined. It's not worth the cost. Now we only need to step on Yan Xiong once. Young Master Shen is truly a great scholar. He is truly an awe-inspiring talent. I, an old scholar, am deeply impressed. Receiving recognition from Zhang Boyan, everyone was astonished. Falsehoods are always false, so Shen Lang wasn't a fool. Still adhering to his principle of revenge, Shen Lang came before Yan Xiong. It was time to make good on his promise. Yan Xiong looked to his teacher for help. But his teacher closed his eyes. With everyone watching, Yan Xiong gritted his teeth at Shenlang. I'll remember this day, Shenlang. With that, I slapped myself hard. My father-in-law smiled approvingly at the sight. He immediately arranged for me to be escorted to the bridal chamber. But the next second, General Zhu's stern voice startled him. I've remembered you, boy, he said, laughing heartily as he left. A moment later, in Mulan's room, Shenlang and Mulan, both blushing, remained silent. He still can't believe he actually married this beautiful woman. Moonlit moment. Mulan said, I will never cheat on you in my life. But please forgive me, I can't fulfill my wifely duties. Lang Yi also knew very well that a proud woman like her would never sleep with a man casually. If he wanted to truly be with her, I must first win his heart. Mulan called out, and a graceful young woman entered. Soldier, tonight is the groom's wedding night. You need to really let loose. Seeing Shenlan's embarrassment, Mulan said, I can't be selfish and ruin your happiness. You and Xiaobing will consummate your marriage tonight. It's best if you have a child soon, so you can give both sets of parents an explanation. Jean Mulan felt a little guilty as she spoke, but in the next second, Lang Yi opened his arms and laughed heartily. Xiaobing, your wedding night is worth 1,000 gold pieces. Get started. I don't know why, but Mulan felt inexplicably annoyed. She then stormed out. The young soldier didn't seem to have any experience, and struggled for a moment, then tearfully agreed, my lord. I'll come and attend to you in bed. He was crying his eyes out. I appear calm, but inside, I'm freaking out. Mulan doesn't like me, and now Xiaobing won't have children with me either. You can't force something that's not meant to be. So, I told him to sleep in the next room. Watching him leave like a flash, I just shut down. No hesitation. It's a shame I look so handsome. The next morning, at breakfast, Jean Mulan brought some gifts for Shenlang to take to his in-laws. Of course, whatever goals or plans Shenlang has in the future, she will support. But young Master Lang said his biggest goal right now is to kill Su Jia, and make Su Qianshan kneel before him and wail for years. Mulan was stunned upon hearing this. A man's grand ambition, a man's magnanimity. Husband, is it really okay for you to be so vindictive? Thinking of this, Mulan awkwardly handed over the pastries, indicating, the Su and Jiang families are joining forces through marriage, and they both have powerful families backing them. This is going to be difficult for us. But when Master Lang heard this, but pointed the finger directly at Tianhe, then let's kill him first. Who knew he also surrendered to the Zhang family? He's also the esteemed Shenhu of Xuanwu City. I can't act rashly against him. After hearing this, Shenlang started acting out. Isn't the earls incredibly powerful? Why can't I touch this one, and that one either? Mulan smiled and accompanied her husband. I'm truly sorry for this, but Lord Lang had no intention of giving up. Since he couldn't kill him, he would use the title of Count to slap his face instead. Don't tell me that even this isn't allowed. Jian Mulan nodded. Lang Yi vanished in a flash. This scene stunned Mulan's husband. Mulan's husband, are you in such a hurry for revenge? Don't you have time to say a few more words to your bride? Lang Yi quickly prepared a carriage and headed straight for the gang. Before leaving, he specifically chose a fine steed. This is essential for showing off and slapping faces. However, after climbing for 5 full minutes, Lord Lang still couldn't get on. The soldier beside him looked on helplessly, but dared not approach. At this moment, Lord Lang stood up and patted his backside, indicating that the sun was too strong today. He decided to take the carriage instead. Half an hour later, Master Lang just arrived at the black-clothed gang's fortress, and saw Tianheng already waiting for him. Young Master Shen, I trust you've been well. Couldn't you have just sent someone if you had something to say? Why trouble yourself with this visit? Little did he know, Tianheng was seething with resentment. He just married in yesterday, and comes here to slap my face this morning. Such a hypocritical face. But he still respectfully invited Master Lang into the house for tea. As soon as he sat down, Master Lang mentioned the 1,000 gene debt. Unexpectedly, Tianheng had already anticipated this. He burned the IOU in front of Shenlang. He thought this would satisfy him. But Master Lang unexpectedly turned around and bid leader Tian, I could let the 1,000 gene you owe me slide, but I even burned the ring. What am I supposed to do? People will think I'm here to extort money. Hearing this, Tianheng was about to faint from anger. He thought, damn it, I, Tianheng, have been around for years. I've never seen someone so shameless like you. But he still sighed. He endured it, and arranged for his subordinates to bring 1,000 gold. Young Master Shen, look at my memory. You just need to confirm this 1,000 gold. Not a single coin less. But Shenlang had no intention of backing down. We're all familiar with each other. Then forget about the interest. Hearing this, Tianheng became even more enraged. He thought to himself, this bastard. Not only is he extorting 1,000 gene from me, he actually wants interest too. He then painfully took out 100 gene. Only then did Lang Yi leisurely take a sip of tea. They brought up Tian Shisan's late summer incident again. Back then, he wanted to kill Shenlang's entire family. Now, Shen Lang wants to break his legs. When Yan Tianheng is about to explode, he gritted his teeth and said fiercely, Tian Shersan is outrageous. When he gets back, I'll beat him to death. But he went to White Spirit City last night. It'll be 1 or 2 months before he returns. Only then was Shen Lang satisfied. Before leaving, he again instructed Tianheng to inform him when Tian Shersan returned. Remember to let me know. I'm still waiting to break his legs. Tianheng nodded with a forced smile, as he watched him leave. After the carriage left the city gate, Tianheng finally exploded in anger. Someone, chop up the chair that Shen Lang sat in and burn it. At this moment, Tian Shersan finally came out. He advised his adoptive father not to be angry. He's so arrogant and overbearing. The Earl's mansion will not tolerate him. Perhaps it won't be long before we hear news of Shen Lang's sudden death. In his anger, Tianheng still reminded him to stay hidden recently, but as soon as he finished speaking, Shen Lang's voice came from outside the door. Hey, what kind of secret technique is this? You came back from Bailing City in an instant. The family looked displeased. It's also said that if it weren't for Jin Zhong arriving in time last night, my parents must be suffering terribly right now, and all I want to do is break your leg. Is that too much to ask? And what about Boss Tian? You said you'd break his leg when he got back. Can you do it now? Faced with this choice, Tian Heng finally decided to turn against him. Shen Lang slams his fist on the table, shattering it. Don't push me too far. The reason I dare to openly defy you now is because Tianheng rushed to the Zhang family last night and offered them 30% of the Wu family casino's profits in exchange for their support. Master Lang sneered, did you consider what pushing too far meant? When you murdered my entire family? Tianheng throws his head back and laughs. You're just a live-in son-in-law, so arrogant and overbearing. The Count loves his people so much. In the end, he'll act for the greater good and kill his own kin. Let's see what you do then. I'm still a 1,000 household officer, after all, under the city lord's mansion. The Count is corrupt. Taking action would be an overstep. Seeing the other party had completely dropped the pretense, Boss Lang's eyes turned cold. I'll ask you one last time. Are you willing to break Tian Shersan's legs? Tianheng replied, if you want it done, do it yourself, or have your Count warrior behind you do it. Boss Lang looked at the guard beside him, who quietly averted his gaze. Then I cupped my hands and said it's a bit late today. I need to go back and visit my parents. Then tomorrow, I will make you watch me break Tian Shersan's legs, and swallow every word you said today. After hearing this, Tianheng burst out laughing. You're just a lowly live-in son-in-law. What can he do to me? Little does he know that tomorrow, Boss Lang will sweep through all the casinos under his name, and seize all of his assets, leaving nothing for him, and give it all to the local people. Firstly, Boss Lang will win the hearts of the people, and consolidate his position. Secondly, it will dismantle all of Tianheng's support built on benefits. After leaving the Black Gang, young Master Lang first used the 2,000 gold he had pried out to give to his poor parents, and asked his father to build a bigger house, so that it would be convenient for him to stay there when he visited home with Jean Mulan in the future. His younger brother saw that his older brother had become successful, and was also determined to work hard. When he becomes successful, he would definitely marry the widow Lu from next door. That's right, little brother, my ideals are that lofty. When I was about to leave, Mother suddenly remembered that something had happened to Desha recently. Upon hearing this, I immediately changed my expression. Because Desha was my only friend in my previous life, his IQ is quite low, so I've always protected him since we were young. Although I was honest and kind, but I lived a miserable life. My father remarried. I was forced to live on the floor like a dog. If I weren't able to work, my stepmother would have kicked me out long ago. At this moment, Brother Lang arrived at Big Fool's house, and learned that Big Fool had been abandoned in the ravine for several days. Brother Lang immediately rushed to the back mountain. By the time I found Desha, he was barely breathing. Turns out his stepbrother had provoked Mao Desha, and he got hurt like this trying to save him. His father didn't have money for treatment, so he just dumped him here. At this point, I was filled with rage. Desha was bullied by his stepbrother all the time. He still protected his younger brother without hesitation. Now, he's injured trying to save his brother, and was even left for dead in the wilderness. I, Shen Lang, will not let them get away with this. But by the looks of it, Ursha has been abandoned here for 6 or 7 days. He hasn't had anything to eat or drink during this time, and he's been bleeding continuously. But even so, Heir Shah is still worried about Shen Lang. Upon learning that Shen Lang was also bullied, Heir Shah suddenly became violent. No one is allowed to bully Heir Shah. Then, he shielded Master Lang with his body. Master Lang shed tears of pain. After lifting Desha onto the carriage, he turned around and headed back to Desha's home. But their family is living the high life. Grandpa Lang's face darkens. Do you have any conscience left? The stepmother, while taking a large bite of meat, says, we don't have any money. It's not like we're not feeding him. The younger brother adds, a useless fool. Dead is dead. What's there to regret? You too. When Yan Lang silently walked to the table, and flipped it over, Then he gave his younger brother a groin kick. Seeing his son rolling on the ground in pain, the stepmother finally revealed her ugly face. "You bastard. You're just a live-in son-in-law. You should rot away just like Dasha. Get out of my face. I don't hit women." The stepmother fell to the ground, but her mouth kept running. "Don't think just because you're the Sue family's live-in son-in-law, that I'm afraid of you. I'm going to report you." "Then go ahead. I will wait for you at the Earl's residence." Then, young Master Lang hurried back to the city on horseback. Only the Earl's residence has the rich medicinal herbs that could offer a slim chance of survival. But who knew he was stopped at the door by the leader from the capital? It turns out he was also one of the initial candidates for the son-in-law position. Young Master Lang became the son-in-law. He's been displeased ever since. Today, young Master Lang has fallen into his hands. He must be making things difficult. "How dare you? What right do you have to bring someone into the Earl's mansion?" But Master Lang insisted on having Big Fool carried inside. When he ordered his personal guards, the two remained motionless. These two also looked down on Master Lang, even though they were responsible for his safety. "But I get intimidated by my superiors. Even though I live in the Earl's mansion, I feel quite lonely." Just then, my father-in-law arrived with my wife. Upon learning that I was going to save someone, Jean Jua immediately gave orders. Dr. and Jean Mulan then boarded my carriage. "You're still not familiar with the Earl's mansion. Let me drive for you." This scene made Langy feel depressed. Then Mulan gently said, "I'm sorry, my husband, I've let you down." It turns out Langy is not alone. He has his lovely wife in the Earl's mansion. At this moment, Jincheng was still trying to stop them. "What you're doing is against the rules, miss." Mulan's eyes turned cold. She pulled out her whip and said commandingly, "Turn around." Jincheng looked at her in disbelief, but he obediently turned his back. The whip cracked down. Sparks flew, even through the armor. "My skin is already torn and my flesh is ripped open. I'm hitting you for 2 reasons. You failed to help someone in mortal danger. That violates the moral code of our June manor. Second, Shen Lang is my husband, meaning, he is your master. From now on, you need to correct your attitude." 1 hour later, Big Fool is finally out of danger. The medically knowledgeable Old Rogue was also secretly surprised. The sheriff's medical skills are truly remarkable. Under these conditions, even I might not have done better than him. Meanwhile, my father-in-law called him into a room alone. "Shen Lang, you've got some nerve. Using your power to bully others. Blackmailing Tianheng, and even wanting to break his adopted son's legs." Hearing this, Shen Lang respectfully knelt down. "Thank you, father-in-law, for saving Xiao Su's family." Such carefully chosen words. So ambiguous and vague. Shen Lang had just managed to bribe the Su family. Tianheng killed his entire family, and now he's everywhere. After hearing this, his father-in-law was furious. He immediately changed his attitude. He promised to seek justice for Shen Lang. No one could bully his son-in-law and get away with it. But Lord Lang didn't want to trouble his father-in-law. He wanted to handle the matter himself. To keep Shen Lang out of trouble, my father-in-law took out a super thick book of family precepts, and said I wouldn't be free until I memorized it all. It took him a whole month to memorize it. After he left, I grinned smugly. For others, memorizing family precepts is a pain. In the Count and Countess's room, the Countess felt that punishing Shen Lang right after he joined their household seemed a bit harsh. The Count, however, didn't consider it a punishment. As long as Shen Lang was trained by the players, he could leave whenever he wanted. This would also show Shen Lang that they didn't treat him as an outsider. Besides, he was confident that Shen Lang wouldn't be able to leave for at least 2 months. Hearing this, but my lady became intrigued. She wanted to make a bet with the Count. If Shen Lang could recite the gambler's commandments within a month, then she would have the initiative during their poker games. The Count felt he had nothing to lose, so he readily agreed. Half an hour after the couple's activities, the Countess couldn't fall asleep. To take the initiative in his future happiness, he got up and made a bowl of walnut and lotus seed soup for his precious son-in-law, to nourish his brain. But when he took it to Shen Lang, he was already asleep. This infuriated the Countess, who was working even harder than him. She was afraid she would lose the bet with her husband. The next morning, I heard that Count Shen Lang was so indolent that it angered them. Shen Lang explained that he had already memorized the family precepts, so he went to bed early. The Count and Countess looked at him in disbelief. The entire family precepts book has 100,000 words. How could he have memorized it so quickly? They immediately decided to use corporal punishment on Shen Lang for his boasting. Shen Lang told the Count to bring on the questions. If I can't answer one, I'll accept any punishment. The Count then posed 5 questions in a row. Shen Lang answered them all fluently. He even provided in-depth explanations. This made the Count incredibly excited. Could it be that my Count's manor has produced another once-in-a-century talent? The Countess was even more thrilled, because she would be relying on him for her nightly knowledge from now on. The Count asked Shen Lang how he did it. He certainly couldn't tell him that he had time traveled, and had a computer in his head. He could only say that he had a serious illness 4 days ago, and after recovering, his mind suddenly became sharp, and he had a photographic memory. Unexpectedly, the Count was very understanding, because 180 years ago, an ancestor of the Kim family had a sudden epiphany on their deathbed, transforming from a good-for-nothing into a 5-arts genius. They subsequently achieved great things, rose through the ranks, and it was at that time that the Kim family's fiefdom reached its peak of 5,000 square kilometers. Shen Lang thought to himself, could that ancestor have also time-traveled here? Shen Lang was so clever. The Count wanted Shen Lang to study at the family's academy first, but Shen Lang was still thinking about going out and breaking Tianshi's legs. Since he had already given his word, the Count couldn't stop him, but he reminded Shen Lang, the court's new policies have weakened the power of the nobility. Recently, 3 noble families have had their lands stripped away. Some have even lost their lives. Now is not the time to let the court find any weakness. Shen Lang guarantees that he will leave no trace under legal circumstances. Only then did the Count let him go. Upon arriving at Xuanwu City, Shen Lang went straight to Tianheng's casino. He's a man with X-ray vision. This time, I'll make sure Tianheng loses everything, even his underwear. As soon as Shen Lang entered the casino manager, Tian Shizhou, his eyes lit up. Shen Lang, who just scammed the gang yesterday, came to the gang's territory again today. Isn't he looking for death? Although Tian Shizhou gritted his teeth in hatred, but he still gave Shen Lang a warm welcome. Even when Shen Lang said he didn't bring any money, he offered to lend Shen Lang some. He said the 10% interest rate wasn't fixed. Worried that Shen Lang wouldn't borrow, he made up his mind to lend Shen Lang 10,000 gold coins. If Shen Lang lost it all, he'd go to the Earl's mansion with the IOU to collect the debt. Shen Lang would be in deep trouble then, because everyone knows that the Earl's mansion has explicitly forbidden gambling within its walls. If the Earl finds out, he'll definitely break Shen Lang's legs. Shen Lang said he wanted to borrow 1,000 gold coins just to play around a bit. Shen Lang quickly signed the IOU and exchanged it for chips. Tian Shi was already impatient to win Shen Lang's money. Young Master Shen, how do you want to play? Of course, it's both simple and fast. Bet on big. The young beauty picks up 3 dice from the coffin. After shaking them and waving them in the air 81 times, she places them on the table. Bet on big or small. Once you place your bet, you can't change it. Please make your decision. Shen Lang glanced at the dice. He immediately went all in, betting everything on big. Shen Lang's reckless gambling style got the onlookers more excited than him. Amidst the surrounding shouts, the dice revealed a 13. As expected, this hand won Shen Lang 1,000. But Tian wasn't worried at all. As the saying goes, if you want to destroy someone, you must first make them mad. He was afraid that if Shen Lang lost everything in the first round, he would be scared off. We need to let Shen Lang have a taste of victory first. Only then will he continue to gamble. Second round, continue. Shen Lang went all in again and easily won another 2,000. By the third hand, when he won 4,000, Tian Shizhou's face had changed. This was equivalent to half a year's profit. If they let Shen Lang continue to win against the Tian gang, he really won't let it go. Tian Shizhou smiled faintly and stood up. Young Master Shen, how about I personally shake it for you? Those in the know are aware that Tian Shizhou is a master at shaking dice. Even after the dice are shaken and rest on the table, he can still change his technique. After he shakes them and they rest on the table, Shen Lang also noticed this. He immediately said, I don't want to play this anymore. Playing dice is too simple. I want to play Pai Gao. Tian Shizhou was startled at first. He thought Shen Lang was going to run off after winning. He thought, as long as you keep playing, I'll have a way to deal with you. With that, he ordered his men to bring Pai Gao tiles. The rules of Pai Gao are simple. Each player gets 2 tiles and compares their value. Supreme treasure is the highest, followed by heaven and earth pairs, and so on. Shen Lang, a frequent visitor to gambling dens in his past life, knew that casinos often make subtle marks on the tiles. So he asked Tian Shizhou to buy a few new sets of Pai Gao tiles. He can continue playing only after the check passes. Of course, Tian Shizhou wasn't willing to give up the opportunity to make money. He immediately ordered his subordinates to go to different stores and buy 10 sets of Pai Gao. Tian Shizhou, confident as the top gambling master of Xuanwu City, believed that even without cheating, he would win. A moment later, the Pai Gao was brought in. Shen Lang checked, and everything was fine. He randomly picked a set. Then he pretended not to understand how to play. Is he just randomly picking 2 cards? Or should we select the cards first? Then Tian Shizhou picked 2 cards. Shen Lang activated his X-ray vision and saw that Tian Shizhou had picked the 6th largest pair of 10s among all the cards. Looks like Tian Shizhou is quite lucky. After looking at his cards, Tian Shizhou placed a 100 coin bet. I shouldn't humiliate him too much, Shen Lang thought, so I'll just choose 2 combinations ranked 5th. And after picking the cards, I didn't even look at the back row. I directly bet 1,000 gold coins. The onlookers gasped. This is too exciting. He bet 1,000 gold coins without even looking at the cards. This means Tian Shizhou has to bet at least 1,000 gold coins too. Tian Shizhou didn't expect Shenlang to be so confident, but he knew he had a strong hand too. He immediately pushed out 1,000 gold coins to open the pot. Tian Shizhou was shocked and the cards were revealed. Shenlang's hand was just slightly better than his. Tian Shizhou couldn't believe Shenlang's luck was consistently this good, but what he didn't know was that this was just the beginning of his nightmare. Tian Shizhou was unconvinced. Request to continue. From then on, Shenlang bet at least 1,000 gold coins each round, and he didn't even look at his cards. However, after each round, he miraculously won 1.9 billion. After a few rounds, Shenlang had already won over 10,000 gold coins. The gamblers around him were also making a killing. They excitedly cheered for Shenlang. At this point, everyone clearly regarded Shenlang as the desired gambling god. Meanwhile, Tian Shizhou was sweating profusely from his losses. This is it. I've lost so much. I have no choice but to strip everything off. In the end, Tian Shizhou stood up, his legs trembling. He walked out in a daze. Just as Shenlang was sweeping through the black-clad gang's casino, Tian Hein, the leader of the Black Suits gang, was leisurely having morning tea with Shenlang's former father-in-law. He was completely unaware that he was about to go bankrupt. He even fantasized about storming the Earl's mansion to demand payment when Shenlang lost all 10,000 gold coins. At that time, he imagined the Earl would surely break Shenlang's lackey's legs. While the two were immersed in their fantasy, Tian Shizhou barged in without knocking. Tian Hein scolded him for being rash. So rude, he said. Tian Shizhou knew what to do. He entered and immediately knelt down. They hadn't realized Tian Shizhou's true reason for kneeling. Master Su even praised Tian Hein for raising his son well. Tian Hein told him to get up and tell me. How much did Shenlang lose? Less than 10,000 taels. Fleeced several times. Tian Shizhou was sweating profusely upon hearing this. He didn't even dare to speak. Not only had he not won, but he had lost the casino's annual income. Tian Hein urged Tian Shizhou to quickly report how much Shenlang had lost. Tian Shizhou lowered his head and muttered, 16,000 gold coins. Upon hearing his reply, Tian Hein and Master Su burst into hearty laughter. In stark contrast to their boisterous laughter, Tian Shizhou's cold sweat had already drenched the floor in front of him. Tian Hein immediately beckoned Tian Shizhou to go to the Earl's mansion to demand the money. Shenlang was in for it now. Tian Shizhou realized that if he didn't tell the truth now, it would be too late. He's going all out. Godfather. It's not Shenlang who lost 16,000. It's us who lost 16,000. Tian Hein couldn't believe his ears. After confirming it again, he grabbed Tian Shizhou by the collar, ready to beat him. You studied under Wucheng's #1 master. How could you lose to a good-for-nothing? Could Shenlang be cheating? After receiving a negative answer, he threw Tian Shizhou out, and looked at Master Su. Isn't that Shenlang a good-for-nothing live-in son-in-law? How did he become so skilled after you kicked him out? But Master Su also looked bewildered, feeling like he'd missed out on a fortune. At this moment, Shenlang's manipulative ex-wife walked in. She reminded Tian Hein that his outburst here was ill-advised and he should return to deal with their matter. She also reminded him not to be afraid, as the governor's mansion was his backing. A moment later, Tian Hein arrived at the gambling house. By then, even the area outside the gambling house was crowded with people, shouting, Boss Tian is here. Then everyone started chanting about money. About money. Shenlang also noticed Tian Hein. Sect leader Tian, I trust you're well. Since you're here, could you please cash out the 19,000 gold coins I just won? Tian Hein was incredibly angry, annoyed that after just a short while, 16,000 had become 19,000. This is not enough. Shenlang reminded Tian Bang that these hundreds of people who bet with me should also be deceived. They all agreed. Hundreds of gamblers echoed in agreement. At this moment, Tian Hein was in a dilemma. If they were right, this would be all of his savings. How could he command his hundreds of underlings in the future? If I don't do it, these gamblers will never let me go. But Shenlang didn't try to avoid paying. So Tian Hein hypocritically invited Shenlang in for a talk. But as soon as Shenlang followed Tian Hein to the private room on the second floor, Tian Hein immediately changed his attitude. Shenlang was impressed. He wanted me to break my subordinate's legs. Don't tell me you're throwing away both your life and reputation. Shenlang put on a righteous expression. Of course, Third Earl Fu's reputation must be preserved. But I don't care about mine. Besides, my reputation isn't good to begin with. Tian Hein said obsequiously, don't think 19,000 gold coins can make me break Tian Shizhou's legs. If I do that, none of my men will respect me. What Shenlang said was even more infuriating. Tian Bangzi falsely accused me. I never intended to trade 19,000 gold coins for Tian Shizhou's legs. What I meant was, I want both the 19,000 gold coins and Tian Shizhou's legs. As soon as he said this, Tian Hein was so enraged that his teeth itched. He immediately clenched his fists, ready to explode. If it weren't for the protection of the Count's guards, he probably would have already attacked Shenlang. In that case, Tian Heng will drop all pretense with you, Shen Lang. Let me tell you the truth. I was the one who sent Tian Shisan to kill your whole family. If you want me to break my subordinate's legs, and lose face, it's impossible. And I won't give you a single copper of your 19,000 gold coins. What can you do about it? Saying this, Tian Heng directly opened the window on the second floor. He shouted down, if my gang's casino can take losses, it can pay them out. Someone, give all the guests their money. Immediately, the gamblers downstairs shouted, long live Boss Tian. Boss Tian is awesome. Tian Heng's move directly stabilized the situation with Shen Lang. These gamblers couldn't care less whether Shen Lang's money was exchanged. And according to Tian Heng's words, this money is just being temporarily held by these gamblers. Given the nature of these gamblers, in less than half a month, they'll lose the 9,000 gold back to me. Now it's Shen Lang's turn to be in a bind. These gamblers won't play along with him anymore. The Count's mansion won't help him get the money. He won 19,000 gold. Tian Heng definitely won't exchange it. Just as Tian Heng was feeling smug, Shen Lang stood up, clapping and cheering. Gang leader Tian, this maneuver is truly a brilliant reversal. Then I'll just have to keep gambling. And I'll win until you're bankrupt. He then shouted downstairs, brothers, don't leave yet. I'll help you keep winning. The gamblers downstairs who had just cashed in their winnings became even more excited. The god of gamblers is impressive. Boss Tian is in trouble. After saying this, Shen Lang ignored Tian Heng's darkened face, and returned to the gambling table. This time, Shen Lang only bet 1 gold coin per round, but the onlookers followed with bets of thousands of gold coins each time. Because the gamblers knew clearly, that betting with Shen Lang was a sure win. Winning money is like picking up money. As his subordinates reported the amount of money they lost to Tian Heng, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, 10,000. His subordinate, Tian Shirsi, was the first to lose it. One moment, I'll go down and kick Shen Lang out. But he still underestimated Shen Lang. When he started to tell Shen Lang to leave, the warriors and maids of the surrounding duke's mansion immediately blocked Shen Lang. Shen Lang is still provoking me. I'm weak. If you dare touch me, I'll fall down. A group of gamblers also protected me alongside Tian Heng. The gambling god, He Fang, can't afford to lose. Seeing this, Tian Heng had no choice but to come down. Gambling is suspended for today. Chips can be exchanged tomorrow. Everyone immediately protested. The gambling house was trying to renege on its debts. Shen Lang stood up and shouted, since this gambling house is closed, let's go to Boss Tian's other 4 gambling houses. Watching everyone leave with Shen Lang, Tian gritted his teeth in anger. I really regret not finishing off Shen Lang back then. He then ordered his men to inform the other 4 gambling dens to close down, but this closure upset his own people. News of the gang's gambling dens closing quickly reached the governor's son, Zhang Jinlai. You see, Tian Heng had just offered 40% of the gambling den's earnings to the governor, in exchange for his protection. But now, the meat he had in his grasp was about to fly away. Just an hour later, he was then summoned by the governor's son, Zhang Jin. The casino's closure was already public knowledge, and Tian Heng had just offered 40% of the casino's revenue to the governor, in exchange for his protection. Now, this undoubtedly threatened the governor's interests. Zhang Jin didn't care how many legs he had to break. He only demanded that the casino quickly become profitable, so he ordered Tian Heng to quickly satisfy Shen Lang's requests. Hearing this, Tian Heng felt an inexplicable pang of sorrow. Breaking his subordinate's legs would undoubtedly ruin his reputation, and he feared no subordinate would ever trust him again. But Zhang Jin had promised Tian Heng that after they brought down the Earl's house, he would give him the position of city lord of Xuanwu Fortress. Only then did Tian Heng reluctantly obey the order. Moments later, Tian Heng invited Shen Lang to a private room and offered to publicly break Tian Shisan's legs, in exchange for Shen Lang's promise to never enter his casino again. But Shen Lang, now having the upper hand, showed no mercy, and demanded that Tian Shirsi's arms and legs also be broken, simply because he had pointed at him earlier. As Tian Heng's face flushed with anger and he hesitated, Shen Lang suddenly felt homesick. He also wanted to break the hands of all the men who had been to Shen Lang's house. At this moment, Tian Heng's eyes were filled with rage. He just wanted to rush over and grab Shen Lang, breaking him in half. But facing the 4 Earl's mansion guards beside him, such a scene could only be a fantasy in his mind. So he could only grit his teeth and agree to break the legs of Tian San and Tian Shirsi. Tian San and Tian Shirsi were quickly tied up and brought to the Lu family's entrance. In no time, a crowd of onlookers gathered at the Lu family's gate. Tian Heng announced publicly, although Tian San and Tian Shirsi acted on my instructions, they sought personal revenge, and offended the Earl's mansion. Today, I will uphold justice and punish my own kin. Breaking their legs is already showing mercy. Having said that, he took a wooden stick as thick as a bowl. A heavy blow landed on Tian Shisan's shin. A cracking sound was heard. Tian Shisan's shin snapped. He fell straight to his knees. Though sweat poured from his face in pain, He didn't make a sound. A tough bandit indeed. He must be utterly disappointed in his adoptive father, Tianheng. Meanwhile, Tian Shishir was already trembling with fear. He still hoped that his godfather would show him mercy. After all, everything he did was for the gang. For his godfather. The only response to him was the club in his godfather's hand. The club came down. The entire street echoed with Tian Shishir's cries of agony. Both of Tian Shishir's hands and feet were broken. Only one breath left, barely alive. The members of the Black Clothes gang saw how the loyal Tian Shirsan and Tian Shirsi met such an end. The loyalty in the hearts of the Black Clothes gang had already been shattered. From now on, Tianheng's prestige in their hearts would likely be completely destroyed. And this was exactly the effect Shenlang wanted. After Tianheng did all of this, Shenlang even arrogantly delivered a final blow to the Tian gang leader. So, how about it? What I said yesterday, I followed through on. In the end, it was you who personally broke the hands of your subordinate, Santu. At this point, Tianheng is no longer in my heart. I just want to wait for the Earl's mansion to be finished. Then I'll show you how I deal with you. It's getting late, Leader Tian. Our business is almost wrapped up. What do you mean it's not over? Shenlang, don't go too far. I won 19,000 gold coins. Here are my chips. Now cash them in for me. My wife is waiting for me to go home for dinner, but we've already paid out 20,000 gold coins today. Where's there any more money? Is this guy trying to take my winnings too? Tianheng had finally reached his limit. He immediately wanted to strike Shenlang's head with his club, but his men stopped him, and handed him a note. It's in simplified Chinese. Could the person who wrote this also be a time traveler? After Tianheng saw the note, his attitude immediately took a 180-degree turn. He immediately ordered someone to fetch 2,000 gold coins, and prepared the ring. But in his heart, he was calculating that this ring was just a piece of waste paper. He would never cash it in. Meanwhile, Shenlang noticed Tianheng's glance towards the second floor of the Gufang, and realized there must be an important person up there. While Tianheng was still imagining Shenlang bringing the winnings back to the Earl's mansion, and having his legs broken by the Earl, Shenlang jumped onto the platform and loudly accused Tianheng. Your gambling has caused countless families to break apart. I, Shenlang, regard money as worthless. And the gambling den is not for winning money. It's for seeking justice for those families you have harmed. These passionate words stirred the crowd in the audience. Everyone praised Shenlang for his righteousness and loyalty. Shenlang continued, my father-in-law has always taught me to love the people as my own children. The money won in the gambling den today, I, Shenlang, will take not a single coin, taking from the people, and returning to the people. As he spoke, Shenlang grabbed a handful of gold coins and tossed them into the crowd. In an instant, the street was filled with the spectacular sight of everyone picking up money. This bold move made Tianheng feel heartbroken. He's using my money to win people's favor, and I even interrupted 2 of his shining moments. This is insulting my dignity, and insulting my intelligence. Thinking of this, Tianheng coughed up a mouthful of blood, swearing that he and Shenlang would be sworn enemies. Zhang Jin on the second floor and the Xuanwu city lord also didn't expect Shenlang to be so expensive, directly causing him to break the Earl's mansion's rules, and won over the people's hearts. But then, a sinister smile crept across Zhang Jin's face. City lord, with so many people scrambling for money down there, isn't a stampede likely to happen? If it does, it won't have anything to do with us, right? The Xuanwu city lord shared a knowing smile. Of course, it doesn't matter. It's the Earl's mansions. You handing out money will only be related to the Earl's mansion. A moment later, while Shenlang was still handing out money, a dozen or so men arranged by Zhang Jin and the Xuanwu city lord mixed into the crowd. They slowly pushed toward Shenlang, following Zhang Jin's instructions. After I stir up some chaos, I'll not only trample a few commoners to death, but I'll also crush Shenlang's little balls. As the gold coins were about to be scattered, Shenlang noticed a few suspicious individuals in the crowd below. With his photographic memory, he remembered that some of them had accompanied the Black Tortoise City Lord and Zhang Jin to his wedding. He immediately deduced that the people on the second floor of the Five Directions Pavilion were Zhang Jin and the Black Tortoise City Lord. I also guessed their intention. Then, just as Shenlang announced that he had saved up the money, and told everyone to be quiet and stay put, someone in the crowd immediately incited everyone to rush up and grab the money. Seeing this, Shenlang wittily took out the IOU, and promised everyone that the 17,000 gold coins from the banquet would be distributed to all the citizens. He also said he would give the IOU to the city lord. The city lord will demand the money on your behalf. Hearing this, Tianheng immediately spat out another mouthful of blood. This time, I'm definitely going bankrupt. Seeing Zhang Jin's men below about to crowd around Shenlang turned and ran back into the pit. Seeing this, the Black Tortoise City Lord upstairs immediately wanted to slip out the back door, but it was too late. Shenlang ran up to the second floor and directly blocked him at the door. He and Lord Xuanwu then appeared together at the window on the second floor of Gufang. He handed the 17,000 ring in his hand to Lord Xuanwu. He announced that he wouldn't take a single penny. Lord Xuanwu would handle the debt collection from Gufang on everyone's behalf. Dai Tianhengding wouldn't dare refuse to pay. Upon hearing this, Lord Xuanwu was so stunned by this bold move that he couldn't say a word. Others don't know he also has a stake in the bet. Isn't this like asking himself for the debt? And casino owner Tianheng coughed up another mouthful of blood. The ring, originally worthless, has now become a real debt. His casino is not far from bankruptcy, but if he doesn't accept the ring game, the common people will surely think the city lord is the protector of the gamblers and gangsters. So the Xuanwu city lord had to remove the game board, and with a forced smile, protect me, making sure I didn't lose at gambling. Finally, as the commoners cheered, "Long live Shenlang! Long live city lord Lu!" I slipped out, quietly through the back door of the gambling house. I left City Lord Lu, who lost both his wife and his soldiers, and Zhang Jin to remind the people of love. At the Count's residence, it was heard that the Count and his wife had been anxiously awaiting news of Shenlang's trip to the gambling house. They were not only upset with Shenlang for breaking the Count's house rules, but were also more concerned that he might fall into the trap set by the black-clad gang and the Lord of Xuanwu City. Suddenly, a report came in. Shenlang had won a great victory. Not only had he not suffered any losses, but he had also had Tianheng break the legs of Tian Shirsan and Tian Shirsi. He distributed all the money he won to the common people. The Earl and his wife were overjoyed by Shenlang's actions. Not only did he uphold the reputation of the Earl's house, but he also won people's favor. But even so, the Earl still planned to teach Shenlang a lesson that night. He wanted to curb Shenlang's arrogance. The Countess also said she would cooperate fully. Night fell. Shenlang sneaked into the Earl's mansion. As soon as he closed the door, he was met with his father-in-law's gaze. "Oh, the god of gamblers is back." Shenlang didn't expect the Earl to be waiting for him at the door. He immediately lowered his head to apologize. But the Earl wouldn't let him off so easily. For centuries, no member of the Earl's family has set foot in a casino. But before the Count could finish his scolding, the Countess, who had just agreed to cooperate with him, went to present Shenlang with a banner. The Count was dumbfounded. "What about our agreement?" Just as the Countess was dismissing Shenlang, the Count stopped him. "From today onwards, you are silenced." Shenlang naively thought there would be conditions for his release this time, but his father-in-law said there were no conditions. He could be released whenever his father-in-law was satisfied. Shenlang suddenly felt trapped in the Earl's mansion. His talents would be wasted his whole life. But what he didn't know was, the Earl was doing this only because he was worried Shenlang would be targeted for revenge if he went outside. After Shenlang left, the Count still felt like something was missing. A moment later, wailing sounds came from Jin Mutsong's persimmon and golden Nanmo room. Jin Mutsong, who had just been beaten that morning, still didn't know why he was being beaten this time. Meanwhile, Shenlang arrived at the dining room in the front courtyard. He saw his wife wearing morning clothes as if expecting a disaster. Shenlang asked his wife why she was dressed like that at home. His wife replied that she was afraid something would happen to him in the city. He's ready to bring his troops over and plunder at any moment. Shenlang was deeply moved by his wife's words. He immediately offered to help her remove her armor. After helping his wife remove her armor, and revealing her perfect figure, Shenlang couldn't help but gulp. His body, with its curves in all the right places, involuntarily pressed against hers. Given Shenlang's outstanding performance today, Mulan just trembled slightly, and didn't reject Shenlang's intimate gesture. But this heartwarming scene didn't last a minute. Mulan quickly sensed something was wrong. Shenlang's hand was slowly moving down from her waist. Mulan immediately broke free from his embrace, and grabbed his hand. "Get your hand off me. Behaving badly, aren't you?" Shenlang swore solemnly, "My wife, don't blame me. It's just that your skin is so smooth." My hands slipped down on their own. "If it happens again, you can chop my hands off." Since it was her own husband, Jean Mulan could only say, "Let this be the last time." But in the next second, as Mulan turned around, faced with that tempting backside, Shenlang's wandering hands involuntarily reached out and touched it. Mulan slammed Shenlang's hands onto the table. "A true gentleman keeps his word. Aren't these hands supposed to be chopped off?" Shenlang immediately panicked. "My dear, as the saying goes, it's better to believe a centenarian's infidelity than a man's words. What he just said doesn't count. Even Mulan can't do anything about him. She can only invite Shenlang to eat first." Soon, the two finished their meal. Mulan wouldn't sleep with her husband, but put on her armor and left, leaving Shenlang alone in his room. Luckily, Shenlang still has his servant Xiaobing. I wonder if Shenlang will succeed tonight. Meanwhile, in another room of the Earl's mansion, because of Shenlang's excellence, the servant Jin Mutsong was inexplicably given 2 mixed doubles beatings today. Jin Mutsong lamented, "Before, my parents had reasons for hitting me. Now they don't even bother finding a reason. Teacher Su, tell me, am I really his son?" The pointy-faced man next to him is Su Wenjiao, Jin Mutsong's arithmetic tutor. He's also the Earl's accountant, and has controlled the Earl's finances for over 20 years. I don't know where his resentment towards Shenlang comes from, but he's actually trying to sow discord. The Earl beats you because of Shenlang. The Count and Countess think you're useless, and that you ruined Miss Mulan by letting her marry that good-for-nothing Shenlang. That's why they want to take their anger out on you whenever they see him. The page boy on the side is also adding fuel to the fire, saying he heard Shenlang once harassed a commoner. This morning, I saw Binger crying secretly. I asked her what was wrong, but she didn't dare say. This Count's son is really brainless. He's easily provoked by his subordinates. He was furious. He immediately planned to gather people and settle scores with Shenlang. Meanwhile, in Shenlang's room, Binger received the news. She informed Shenlang in advance. The troublemaker Jin Mutong, the Demon King, was coming to deal with him. Shenlang, however, looked indifferent. Binger pushed Shenlang to go take a break. She then went to report to the Countess. Shenlang, however, grabbed Binger's small hand and said, "Don't worry, I have my own way of handling this." Seeing that Shenlang wouldn't listen to her advice, Binger could only angrily go find the Countess for help. Just as Jin Mutsong burst into Shenlang's room, Shenlang was calmly writing on the wall. Jin Mutsong, who was just furious a moment ago, immediately became interested in the names on the wall. With a grim expression, Shenlang explained that these were the names of his enemies. He said he needed to constantly remind himself of his enemies' names to motivate himself, and be ready for revenge at any time. As he spoke, he crossed out the names of Tian Shirsan and Tian Shirsi. Jin Mutsong became even more curious. Why did he cross them out right after writing them? I've already taken my revenge on those two. I broke their arms and legs. What deep grudge do you have against them? Is it a vendetta against your father's killer or the hatred of a stolen wife? Of course, my hatred runs deep. Tian Shirsan threatened me. Tian Shirsi actually dared to point his finger at me, although Shenlang said it calmly. But Jin Mutong was looking at Shenlang like he was the devil. Just for such a small matter, he broke someone's legs. How narrow-minded he is. He even writes his enemies' names on the wall. His enemies in the city must be miserable. Thinking of this, Jin Mutong broke out in a cold sweat. If I had hit Shenlang, written by him on the wall, wouldn't he tear me to pieces for 10,000 years? Otherwise, why would Shenlang change his face so drastically? Yes, is there something you need from me? Just now, I thought I heard someone say they were going to hit me. Jin Mutsong quickly waved his hands. No, no. Who in the Earl's mansion would dare to hit Master Wu? I was just, taking a stroll. After saying that, before Shenlang could react, he took his men and ran off. But just as he left Shenlang's room, he heard a loud shout, "Stop!" It was the Countess. Jin Mutsong's eyes widened immediately, because he knew that every time he saw the Count and Countess, a beating was inevitable. As expected, the Countess grabbed Kaneki Satoru by the ear, intending to drag him away. She wanted to teach him a lesson, and vent Shenlang's anger. Fortunately, Shenlang stepped forward to intervene. "Mother-in-law, the young master just wanted to chat with me. I didn't feel any impulse." The Countess doesn't believe that place. "You don't need to plead for this rebellious son. I will definitely beat him today, and teach him how to respect you in the future." Shenlang stepped directly in front of Jin Mutong. "Mother-in-law, don't get so angry. Let me talk to the Crown Prince." The madam had to give up. Before leaving, she reminded Shenlang to help her discipline this rebellious son. Shenlang thought to himself, it's really not easy for this guy to have lived this long. Because of this incident, Jin Mutsong had completely become Shenlang's only brother-in-law. "I won't mention thanks for your great kindness. If you need anything from me in the future, just ask." Shenlang asked him who instigated Jin Mutsong, who had just guaranteed it. Jin Mutsong waved his hands repeatedly. "I can't say. I won't betray anyone." Shenlang finally understood why this little fatty always got beaten up. Although he's a bit stupid, but his character is decent. He's quite loyal. But Shenlang also realized that life in this residence wouldn't be easy. After Jin Mutsong left, Shenlang closed his door, and produced a bag of rye from his pocket. Then he carefully scraped the fungus off the rye grains. "Gather them up." This morning, Shenlang asked the servant girl Xiaobing why white tigers are more precious. The servant girl innocently replied, "Because most tigers are yellow, and white is rarer." Shenlang said, "Wrong. It's because time is money. An inch of gold can't buy an inch of time." After saying that, he jumped behind the door. "I was completely dumbfounded. I didn't understand the reason. I figured I'd ask Miss about it tonight." Shenlang didn't expect the soldier to be so innocent, but he wondered if his wife would beat him if she understood. "My wife would definitely be suspicious." Shenlang peeked at her washing her hair. At this moment, the guard informed Shenlang that the Count had assigned him a task. He was to go to the school and study with the young master. The Count's school was for the Jin family's members. Jin Mutsong was undoubtedly the leader of these brats. Shenlang wanted to investigate the situation. He wanted to find the instigator. A moment later, Shenlang arrived at the school. Several brats glared at him sternly. It was as if they were going to eat him. The three shameless men even blocked Shenlang's way, and wanted to spar with him. Fortunately, Jin Mutsong arrived just in time. He warned them, "This is my brother-in-law. Show some respect. Be careful, or I'll turn hostile. The threat of a persimmon really works. They immediately dispersed, and didn't dare to give Shenba any more trouble. The first class of the day was the I Ching. Old Master Lin, the teacher, highly praised this book. After explaining some of the content, he noticed the newcomer, Shenba. Shenlang's handsome appearance reminded him that this was the good-for-nothing who hadn't been enlightened after 10 years of studying. Can he understand such profound knowledge? Then he asked Shenlang to stand and answer a few questions. As heaven maintains vigor through movement, a noble person should constantly strive for self-perfection. It explains the operation of the heavenly Tao. It cycles endlessly, and never ceases. No one can stop it. A noble person should emulate the heavenly Tao. Self-reliance and self-strengthening. Endless striving. Shenlang answered fluently. This soaring dragon has regrets. Indulgence cannot last long. Why? Because when the dragon flies too high, it is bound to regret. Because extreme conditions will inevitably reverse. One shouldn't strive for absolute perfection in everything they do. It's best to leave a little regret. Old Master Lin couldn't believe it for a moment. This was complete proof that someone had indeed deciphered the Dainang scripture. Then Old Master Lin asked a few more questions. Shenlang answered them all fluently. Some of his answers even surpassed his understanding. What a talent! Master Lin immediately had someone inform the Count that Shenlang must be properly nurtured, and his talent not wasted. But this wasn't Shenlang's highlight of the day. During the second period's arithmetic class, because the arithmetic teacher was lecturing on elementary problems, Shenlang was bored to the point of drowsiness. However, this angered the arithmetic teacher. He immediately rushed over and demanded that Shenlang extend his palm to receive the punishment. During the practice, Shenlang looked around and saw everyone else was asleep. Why is he the only one targeted? No wonder, as soon as class started, the teacher's gaze toward him was off. How could Shenlang fall asleep? It's because the teacher's lessons are too simple. I already know everything. Dare to retort. This gives the teacher a reason to impose a harsher punishment. Add 3 strokes with the ruler and make him kneel for 3 more. In this situation, Shenlang can only resist. Punishment without reason. Sorry, I can't comply. It's rare to meet someone tougher than a persimmon. All at once, the students became excited, waiting to see the teacher make a fool of himself. Sure enough, the arithmetic teacher flew into a rage, and snapped his ruler in 2. You're incorrigible. Just you wait, I'm going to the Count. With that, he stormed out of the classroom, watching the teacher's retreating figure. Yes, Jin Mutsong is gloating. Shenlang, why did you provoke him? You're screwed now. Father is coming. He'll beat you at least 30 times. You'll be bedridden for half a year. Shenlang asked Jin Mutsong what was up with this teacher. Why is he so hostile towards me? What's his connection to my 3 rivals? So his name is Su Wenjiao. He's been in charge of the Earl's estate finances for over 20 years. He's also the uncle of Wang Lian, one of Shenlang's rivals. It's precisely because of Shenlang's sudden appearance that he lost his chance to further his relationship with the Earl's estate. That's why he sees Shenlang as a thorn in his side. And yesterday, Jin Mutsong suddenly barged into Shenlang's room. It was also because of Su Wenjiao's instigation. A moment later, Su Wenjiao brought the Count to the schoolhouse. From afar, they could hear Su Wenjiao complaining. Count, I can't teach this class anymore. I have never seen such a disrespectful and ill-mannered person. Please, Count, punish Shenwan severely. Otherwise, he will ruin the atmosphere of the schoolhouse, and even the whole Count's manner. Based on Jin Mutsong's understanding of his dad, when a teacher and student have a conflict, he usually beats the student up first and asks questions later. But today, the Count changed his usual attitude towards him, and asked Shenlang what happened first, saying he wouldn't let him off the hook until he explained everything. Shenlang told the truth, saying it was simply because what teacher Su was teaching was too simple, and that he had already mastered it. Pretending to listen is just a waste of time. Su Wenjiao laughed heartily. Such arrogance. You, a good-for-nothing who hasn't even been enlightened for 10 years. Dare to say what I'm talking about is simple. Since you know it all, I'll give you 10 questions. If you can answer 3, you'll be spared punishment. If not, eat 100. He's confident he knows everyone in Xuanwu City who's good at arithmetic. Shenlang definitely hasn't learned it. This time I'll definitely beat Shenlang's ass. Shenlang confidently asked an arrogant question. What if I answer all 10 questions correctly? Su Wenjiao scoffed internally at Shenlang's wishful thinking. He's so naive. But he generously said, never mind 10 questions. You just need to answer 5 correctly. It proves I'm not qualified to teach you. I can apologize to you publicly. It's a deal. Please, father-in-law and fellow students, bear witness. The Count looked bewildered as he was asked to set a question. He originally came to mediate. He didn't expect things to escalate. But old Master Lin didn't mind the drama. This is interesting. I'll join in. Su Wenjiao started preparing the questions. He naturally wanted Shenlang to be unable to answer a single one. He decided to use all his knowledge, and come up with 10 of the most difficult questions. Half an hour later, the questions were finished. Su Wenjiao gave Shenlang 2 hours. Take your time. Shen Lang took the questions, and scanned them, looking relaxed. Just this. I'm a medical doctor, and you want me to do these? These are just slightly difficult elementary school problems. The first question, the first person takes 1 grain of rice. The second person takes 2 grains of rice, increasing 1 by 1. A total of 100 people. The question is, how many grains of rice do these 100 people take in total? Isn't this something you can answer with your eyes closed? My friends watching, have you figured it out? Do you know how difficult ancient math problems were? For this problem, they even used equations. Should we use a system of 2 linear equations? Did all my viewers graduate from elementary school? Are you still following me? The third question looks like a poem, but it's actually a reverse math problem. I don't know what it means either. Those who know, please explain it in the comments section. But this won't stump God, who was a medical doctor in his past life. Besides, he has a laptop built into his brain. The first 9 questions were so easy, his pen never stopped moving. Until the last question, which was a bit interesting. It turned out to be a tricky combinatorics problem, asking about 20 numbers, with 4 in each row. How many rows can you make? The average person can only figure out about 14 rows. But for a god with modern thinking and techniques, it's a piece of cake. Su Wenjiao, on the podium, saw Shen Lang quickly skim through the first 9 questions, and felt smug. Could it be that Shen Lang couldn't answer the first 9 questions, and just randomly guessed? Is he pinning his hopes on the last question? Little does he know, the last question is the hardest. Even I can only figure out 16 rows. Meanwhile, the Count was skeptical of Shen Lang's arithmetic abilities. He immediately ordered a servant to invite his wife. This way, while he ate Shen Lang later, his wife could help plead for mercy. Then he could release Shen Lang. While the Count was still marveling at his own cleverness, Shen Lang suddenly stood up and asked to submit his exam early. Everyone was shocked. Only a quarter of an hour. This Shen Lang is in such a hurry to die. Su Wenjiao put away the test paper, with a sinister smile, waiting for the whipping. But as he began to check Shen Lang's answers, his face slowly darkened. When he saw that Shen Lang had answered the first question correctly, he started to sweat. After seeing that I got the first 9 questions right, he thought he'd seen a ghost. Because few people in the entire Xuanwu city could answer these questions, yet I solved them in less than 15 minutes. When he saw the perfect answer to the 10th question, he found it even more unbelievable. With all his knowledge, he could only draw 16 rows. Shen Lang only took a short while, and he's already drawn 23 rows. This is pure talent crushing me. A genius like this. I'll never be able to catch up to him in my lifetime. After a series of psychological tortures, Su Wenjiao is now on the verge of collapse. He suddenly throws his head back and laughs. I tore up Shen Lang's answer. Then I threw it on the ground. I ground the pieces of paper into shreds with my foot. Finally, I pointed at Shen Lang's nose and cursed at him, saying his work was a mess. It was all wrong. What do you want? Get hit. He thought no one would know Shen Lang's answer if I did this. I watched Su Wenjiao's performance. Shen Lang remained calm. Unbeknownst to him, I had already anticipated his scoundrel-like behavior. I took out another answer sheet. Having had ample time earlier, I accidentally wrote an extra paragraph. Then I respectfully presented the answer sheet to Master Lin for review. Seeing this, Su Wenjiao immediately tried to snatch it, but the Earl stopped him. He could only watch as Master Lin refuted him. Actually, Master Lin also knows a bit of arithmetic. This also foreshadows that Su Wenjiao's true colors will soon be revealed. This time, he has truly lost both in terms of ability and character. As Master Lin continued grading the papers, his expression became more and more shocked. The first 9 questions were already answered brilliantly, and the 10th question is simply ingenious. If I hadn't seen Shen Lang do it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed he could solve them. After reviewing the exam, Master Lin bowed and reported to the Earl, "Congratulations, Master, you have a mathematical genius." The Earl only cared about how many questions Shen Lang answered correctly. He answered all of them correctly. Moreover, Shen Lang's mathematical skills have far surpassed anyone in Xuanwu City. Master Lin then bowed to Shen Lang and sighed, admitting his inferiority. He eagerly inquired about how Shen Lang's unconventional approach compared to Su Wenjiao's, declaring his character to be 100 times stronger. Shen Lang, not showing any modesty, proudly declared that he was self-taught. A genius is just this brilliant, there's no reason for it. Everyone, upon hearing Shen Lang's words, I suddenly understand why so many people want to beat him up. Meanwhile, Su Wenjiao tried to sneak away while no one was looking, but Shen Na caught him red-handed. "Going for a walk, Mr. Su. Didn't you promise, Mr. Su, that if I got 5 questions right, you'd publicly apologize to me?" Su Wenjiao wanted to go back on his word. How can a teacher apologize to a student? Preposterous. The Count also deeply understands the principle that a teacher should lead by example. He wanted him to practice what he preaches. At this time, the Count's reinforcement, also arrived at the school. He also made Su Wenjiao accountable for his words. Shen Lang knew very well that the Countess was Su Wenjiao's relative. She was his backing in the Count's mansion. Since even the Countess had spoken, no one in the Count's mansion was on Su Wenjiao's side anymore. Su Wenjiao had to accept the fact that he'd been publicly humiliated. He gritted his teeth and lowered his head, apologizing to Shenlang. "I'm sorry, Shenlang. I wrongly accused you just now." All the students who were usually afraid of him were now gloating. Look at him apologizing with his head down. Doesn't he look like a whipped dog? Hearing this, Su Wenjiao was furious. He secretly swore in his heart that he and Shenlang would be sworn enemies. I must avenge this humiliation. Seeing Shenlang acting so high and mighty, he couldn't stand to stay here a moment longer. After this battle, Shenlang had become an idol to the other students. Just as he was getting carried away, the Count approached him with a serious expression, and extended his hand. Shenlang reluctantly extended his hand. "Do I get punished even if I win?" With a slap. One strike turned Shenlang's hand bright red. "You know, the Count is a martial artist. This is a little punishment for you, so you don't get too cocky." Night, in a small courtyard outside Xuanwu City, Su Wenjiao, cloaked in black, knocked on the back door of the courtyard. Soon, the door opened a crack, revealing Xiao Xi's disapproving face. Su Wenjiao, holding a box, offered an apologetic smile. "This is my humble tribute to young Master Zhang Jin for the past 6 months." Hearing this, Xiao Xi cautiously looked around, carefully accepting the box, and inquired about other things. Su Wenjiao then took a scroll from his bosom. "This is some information about the Earl's mansion. But how much longer can the mansion's finances hold up? I haven't figured it out yet." This remark drew Xiao Xi's displeasure. "I must figure it out as soon as possible. Otherwise, your son passing the military exam will be difficult." After saying this, he slammed the courtyard door shut. It turns out Su Wenjiao had already secretly colluded with the governor's son. Su Wenjiao returned home, only to find gang leader Tianheng already waiting there. Tianheng directly stated his purpose. "Mr. Su wants to eliminate this menace, Shenlang." Su Wenjiao immediately became interested. "How do we eliminate him?" Right now, the Count is very satisfied with this son-in-law. Ordinary people wouldn't dare touch him casually. But Tianheng had already thought of a countermeasure. He plans to wage a propaganda war. He will spread rumors outside, questioning Prince Ye's ambitions through Shenlang. After the Count and Countess pass away, the Earl denied he would change his faith. Meanwhile, Su Wenjiao spread rumors within the Earl's mansion, and planned to whisper in the Countess's ear at the right moment. This way, the Earl and Countess would become suspicious of Shenlang, and we can find an opportunity to eliminate him. Faced with this perfect opportunity, the two villains hit it off immediately, and swore together to make Shenlang's life a living hell. Meanwhile, Shenlang wasn't idle either. He also found a good opportunity to get back at Su Wenjiao. You know when someone most wants to hit someone else? It's when you're having an intimate moment with your wife at night, and someone keeps knocking on your door. At this crucial moment, the Count wanted to kill Shenlang. The understanding Countess, however, persuaded the Count to let their son-in-law finish what he had to say. It turns out that because Shenlang made a bet with the Earl's financial manager during the day, he lured the financial manager, Su Wen, out of the Earl's mansion. But the Earl's business operations needed to continue as usual, so Shenlang wanted to temporarily manage the finances for a few days. The Earl was furious. Couldn't this trivial matter wait until tomorrow? The Countess, however, sensed something more was going on. She pinched her husband. She invited Shenlang into the room to explain in detail. Shenlang explained in detail why he wanted to manage the finances. It turned out that Shenlang suspected Su Wenjiao of embezzling the Count's money, because his annual salary was only 200 gold coins. Yet his sons were all dressed in gold and silver. Moreover, Su Wenjiao owned multiple properties in Xuanwu City and other places. This far exceeded his salary level. However, the Earl believed that Shenlang was just seeking personal revenge, and did not support his idea. Moreover, Su Wenjiao had served the Earl's household for over 20 years. He understood the principle that a perfectly clear river has no fish. Seeing the Earl's indifference, Shenlang directly threw 2 ledgers onto the table. What if the amount Su Wenjiao embezzled exceeds your capacity to bear? These 2 books only account for the wine and beverage purchases for recent banquets in the past 2 years. The Earl has already discovered serious embezzlement. The Earl picked up the account book. He asked Shenlang where he got it from. It turns out that the account book was taken by the heir through the steward from the storeroom. The current heir has completely become Shenlang's lackey. The Earl was still hesitating. Su Wenjiao is a relative of the madam. He has been at the Earl's manor for over 20 years. He's worked hard for years, even if he hasn't made any great contributions. I really couldn't bring myself to do it. Finally, I made up my mind after my wife persuaded me, but I made 3 demands of Shenlang. First, he must investigate with Master Lin. Second, the results of the investigation must be sent to me first. He cannot handle it privately. Third, once Su Wenjiao returns, stop immediately. We still need to consider his reputation. 3 conditions. Shenlang agreed to all of them. He knew his father-in-law was a kind man. He secretly decided that he would play the bad guy for his father-in-law. He watched Shenlang leave. The Count sighed. This Shen Lang is being too polite. At this moment, a pair of jade-like hands touched his shoulders. Our daughter is already generous enough. This way, our son-in-law and daughter won't be taken advantage of. Looking at his wife comforting him, the Count remembered he still had work to do. He eagerly pulled his wife towards the bed. At the same time, in the Earl's Manor office, Shen Lang and Master Lin stared at the mountain of ledgers, and could only look on in surprise, not knowing where to begin. Master Lin then delivered some bad news to Shen Lang. This was the Earl's Manor's accounts for 20 years. Usually, it would take dozens of people several months to go through it all, and you only have one night. Because the guys who opened the door just now are all Su Wenjiao's trusted men. As soon as the Earl's mansion opens tomorrow morning, they will immediately inform Su Wenjiao about the audit. Seeing that Shen Lang wasn't backing down, Master Lin revealed that he had also sent an undercover agent to the accounting office 3 years ago. But soon after, the undercover agent suddenly died. This place is very dangerous. This strengthened my resolve to investigate the accounts with Shen Lang. Shen Lang then instructed Ling Fuzi to select some key account books based on his understanding. He himself took charge of verifying and organizing the account books. This workload would take several months for an ordinary person. But for Shen Lang, with his built-in mental computer, one night was enough. As the sun gradually rose, the audit is nearing its end, and the total amount of Su Wenjiao's embezzlement left Shen Lang dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Su Wenjiao's trusted aides at his home were in a panic. Early in the morning, they informed Su Wenjiao about Shen Lang's audit. Upon hearing the news, Su Wenjiao was extremely panicked. He immediately rushed to the Earl's mansion in a frantic manner. Along the way, he cursed Shen Lang's ancestors for 18 generations. After arriving at the Earl's mansion, Su Wenjiao didn't go to the accounting office. Instead, he knelt directly in front of the Count. He exploited the Count's soft heart and put on a pitiful act. He tearfully recounted his grievances. Overcome with emotion, he even tried to run into a pillar to prove his innocence. Fortunately, a nearby guard stopped him. Seeing Su Wenjiao rolling around on the ground, the Count's heart softened. He also didn't want anyone to die. He immediately ordered the guards to call Shen Lang and stop the audit. But Su Wenjiao pushed his luck. He started to speak ill of Shen Lang. "My lord, there have been some rumors circulating in Xuanwu City recently, saying that Shen Lang is playing dumb, intentionally acting foolish to get close to the young miss. I'm afraid he has some ulterior motives towards the Earl's mansion." But the Count trusts Shen Lang implicitly. Although Shen Lang is handsome, he's glib, troublesome, and holds grudges. He has quite a few flaws, but he lacks ambition. "It's you, Su Wenjiao, who has ulterior motives." At this moment, the guards bring Shen Lang in. As soon as Su Wenjiao sees Shen Lang, he can't wait to slander him. "Mr. Shen, why are you so against me? So eager to drive me away? Do you have some ulterior motive?" Faced with Su Wenjiao's accusations, Shen Lang just sneered. "Su Wenjiao, I knew you were greedy, but I didn't expect you to be this greedy." Although Su Wenjiao was panicked, but I thought since Shen Lang only investigated for one night, he couldn't possibly have found any substantial evidence. I immediately refuted him, accusing him of slander, until Shen Lang mentioned the number 30,000. Su Wenjiao immediately deflated. Shen Lang angrily scolded Su Wenjiao, a mere accountant, for embezzling 30,000 gold coins over 20 years. This is insane. 30,000 gold coins is the Earl's annual military budget. You have to understand, in this era, an ordinary family can only save 2 gold coins after a year of hard work. The Earl was furious when he heard this number. Is this data accurate? He expected Su Wenjiao's embezzlement, but he didn't expect it to be this much. Although Shen Lang calculated the approximate embezzled amount, before he presented any evidence, Su Wenjiao still refused to admit it. He continued to kneel before the Count, playing the emotional card. But then, Shen Lang gave him no chance to breathe, and launched 3 fatal arguments. The number of soldiers in the Count's mansion hasn't increased. So why are the military expenses growing larger and larger? Where did all the damaged weapons, warhorses, and armor go each year? Why has the Earl's iron ore production decreased? And why has the usage of burlap sacks and bamboo baskets increased so much? By now, Su Wenjiao was sweating profusely, bombarded by these fatal questions. Shen Lang then directly answered the last question for him. "That's because you used burlap sacks and bamboo baskets to steal the Earl's iron ore." Although Shen Lang had gotten everything right, Su Wenjiao was still making his last-ditch effort. "This is all just your baseless speculation. What evidence do you have?" Shen Lang directly threw out a ledger. "This is the account book I compiled overnight. This is the evidence you wanted." The Count eagerly picked up the ledger to examine it. With Shen Lang's guidance, all the income and expenses were clear at a glance, and the Count's face grew more and more shocked. One of the entries, during the Spring Festival celebrations, he deliberately overpurchased 1,000 bottles of wine. Later, he discounted and disposed of them. Su Wenjiao would collude with the merchants. They were in cahoots. By now, the Count had completely lost his remaining trust in Su Wenjiao. "You treacherous scoundrel. You've embezzled so much money. What more can you say in your defense?" Faced with such clear accounts, Su Wenjiao couldn't refute them. He actually tried to shift the blame onto the Earl, making false accusations, give a dog a bad name and hang him. The Earl's mansion is in financial deficit, and he dares to blame me for it. He shouted towards the door as he spoke, wanting everyone in the residence to know that I, Shen, intended to eliminate a threat, to take action against the Earl's elders. I then pulled over a chair, and sat down in front of Su Wenjiao, quietly watching his performance. Su Wenjiao, how long will you keep up this charade? Do you want to see the ironclad evidence? I've already discovered the location of your secret vault. Su Wenhao didn't believe a word of what Shenlang said, because only he knew the location in his heart. Shenlang, do you think you're a god? Shenlang then took out a note from his chest. I don't mind playing the role of a god, father-in-law. Let's go take a look together. The count immediately ordered guard Jingzhong to lead 100 guards and await Shenlang's command. Half an hour later, Shenlang and his party arrived at a secluded valley. Hidden within the valley was an abandoned outpost. Upon seeing the outpost, Su Wenjiao's legs turned to jelly, because this was the hiding place for the embezzled wealth. This time, he was truly caught red-handed. Doomed. Just as the group was about to enter the outpost, suddenly a stray arrow shot towards Shenlang from afar. Fortunately, the chief of the guards, Jing Zhong, was incredibly alert. He jumped in front of Shenlang just in time to block the arrow. He then ordered his men to enter the outpost first. With a swift leap, moments later, the guards cleared out the enemies inside, and caught the attacker. It turned out to be Su Wenjiao who caused his death. This Su Tian, just like his father, is stubborn. Under torture, he won't say anything. But this doesn't pose a problem for someone with X-ray vision. He scanned all around. He quickly discovered a hidden door underground, so he immediately ordered someone to dig it open. They quickly found the hidden door, but it was locked. The door is made of iron. It can't be cut down with swords. It can only be opened with a key. Then Shenlang used his X-ray vision to examine Su Wenjiao. He immediately discovered that Su Wenjiao had hidden the key in his hair, disguised as a hairpin. An ordinary person would never have noticed it. He immediately ordered the guards to seize Su Wenjiao. Shenlang stepped forward and tore Su Wenjiao's hair loose. He pulled out the key. He found it in such a place. By this time, Su Wenjiao had gone mad. He began to doubt Shenlang's human form. Then Shenlang opened the secret door and led everyone into the cellar. Everyone was stunned when they entered. Boxes of gold coins and various paintings and calligraphy scrolls came into view. Looking at the mountain of wealth, I felt even more furious. It turns out that Su Wenjiao was originally a poor and destitute scholar. It was only because of the old count's charity that he achieved his current fame and status. Yet now he is so ungrateful, undermining and robbing his benefactor's grave. Just then, I found an account book. It clearly records his corruption and gift-giving. This further solidifies Su Wenjiao's guilt, and it could also implicate other corrupt officials. Knowing his end is near, Su Wenjiao has only one question. How did Shenlang get this information? Shenlang discovered from the accounts that, 9 years ago, Su Wenjiao stole 20,000 gene of iron and 20 gene of iron, and he also used the demolition of the sentry post as an excuse to embezzle over 100 renminbi. In the end, only this one place was demolished. Even more shamelessly, the construction of his personal treasure vault was also a theft from the Academy of Scholars. In the end, Shenlang ordered that Su Wenjiao and many of the stolen goods be taken to the Earl's mansion. The Earl himself was to leave the mansion. The guards asked how to deal with Su Tian. Shenlang answered decisively, just chop him up and throw him in the sea to feed the fish. Su Tian immediately panicked when he heard this. You dare. I am under the jurisdiction of Qingzi Prefecture. The new policy states that a local noble has no right to dispose of officials. Are you trying to rebel? Shenlang was momentarily at a loss. This made Su Tian even more arrogant. Zhang actually started laughing. Scared now? If you kill me, you're all going to die. This instantly enraged Shenlang. He immediately drew a sword from a guard's waist. With one stroke, he slit Su Ting's throat. Shenlang's movements were swift and decisive. This impressed even Jin Zhong, a veteran of many battles. He felt that Shenlang, his son-in-law, was truly extraordinary. Afterwards, Shenlang and his party returned, laden with chests of treasure. Quickly returned to the Earl's mansion. The guards reported finding 15 chests of gold coins, 52 famous calligraphy and paintings, 5 chests of jade and jewelry. The Earl listened to his subordinate's report. He was grateful to his son-in-law for recovering the losses, but he was also filled with anger towards Su Wenjiao. The evidence against Su Wenjiao was conclusive. What else do you have to say? Looking at the boxes of stolen goods in front of him, Su Wenjiao could no longer make any excuses. He could only beg the count to spare his life for the sake of the old count and countess. But no matter how much he pleaded, all he got in return was a flying kick from the count. Seeing the count's indifference, Su Wenjiao turned to beg Shenlang for forgiveness. Shenlang only said one thing, father-in-law. Su Wenjiao must die. But Master Lin beside him reminded everyone that Su Wenjiao and the Earl's mansion only had an employment relationship, not a master-servant one. According to the new policy, he could only be sent to the city lord's mansion for disposition. Hearing a glimmer of hope, Su Wenjiao. He immediately became arrogant again, because he had bribed the city lord a lot before. As long as he reaches the city, he's sure to find a way to escape punishment. But his happiness was short-lived. Little did he know that Shenlang had already taken over later Shu. The count was furious after reviewing the ledger. He hadn't expected him to be such a traitor. Su Wenjiao burst out laughing. "This is all your fault. My lord, your memory is rather poor. 3 years ago, I only wanted my son to have a safe position in the army. But you refused. I had no choice but to ask the city lord for help." The count remembered the incident. "Your son was the one who wasn't up to the task. Not even a warrior can get through. What gives you the right to control me?" Su Wenjiao, however, overestimates himself. "Isn't my loyalty of 20 years worth something? Isn't this being heartless and ungrateful? I have no choice but to find another way out, for my son and for myself." Ridiculous. Is your only way out to betray the count's house? Su Wenjiao shamelessly claims that great men don't care about trifles. Upon hearing this, the count immediately wanted to draw his sword and kill him, but Master Lin stopped him. If the count killed him, it would definitely give people a handle against him. Then the court would definitely find a way to deal with the count. Shenlang agreed that this scoundrel must be killed. But not here. Hearing this, Su Wenjiao became even more arrogant. "He dares to come. Aren't any of you brave enough to kill me? Quick, take me to the lord's residence. Let the lord help you kill me." Angered by Su Wenhao's arrogant words, the count immediately pushed aside Ling Fusher, and was about to kill Su Wenhao without hesitation. But Shenlang blocked the count's way. "Father-in-law, please calm down. I only said we can't kill, not that others can't." Just as Su Wenjiao was still mocking the count, Shenlang silenced him with a single sentence. "The Su family rules. Are you afraid of them?" At this moment, the guard Jingzhong pushed the door open. A few people are following behind. They are the head and members of the Su clan. Su Wenjiao was overjoyed to see the clan leader arrive. He still doesn't know that his other secret has been discovered. It turns out that before Shenlang returned from Su Wenjiao's private vault with the stolen goods, he had already anticipated the current situation. So he ordered Jingzhong to bring the Su clan leader to the earl's mansion. On the way, Jingzhong had already informed the clan leader of the general situation. The clan leader apologized to the count as soon as he entered. The Su family has relied on the count's house for many years, and yet, they've produced such a treacherous ingrate. I will take him back and punish him severely. Then the clan leader gave the order. They took Su Wenjiao back to the ancestral hall and beat him to death. At this point, Su Wenjiao was starting to get scared. Why should I be punished by the family even if I embezzle from the count's house? The family ancestral hall has no right to kill me. Shenlang stepped forward, kindly offering him an explanation. Your crime is not embezzlement, but adultery with Xinyan. Su Wenjiao was utterly shocked. Even this trifling matter had been discovered by Shenlang. In fact, every misdeed of his had already been thoroughly investigated by Shenlang. Then the boatman led Su Wenjiao away. He still wouldn't give up. Before leaving, he tried to use the secret of colluding with Tianheng to trade with Shenlang. Shenlang thought to himself, everyone in the city knows that Tianheng wants to harm me. No need for you to remind me. A few hours later, news came that Su Wenjiao had been beaten to death in public in front of the ancestral hall. I heard that he was beaten to a pulp. Hearing this news, the earl was overjoyed, and immediately wanted to reward Shenlang. Just name it. As long as it's not my wife, I'll grant it. Shenlang thought, I only want my own wife. Just have some men kidnap Jean Mulan tonight and bring her to my wedding chamber. But he could only humbly say, I don't need anything. This is what I should do. Otherwise, if my father-in-law finds out we haven't consummated our marriage, won't he laugh at me for being incompetent? Since no one is managing the earl's finances now, why don't you manage them? Absolutely not. Yesterday, I wanted to manage the finances, simply to tell Su Wenjiao, if father-in-law really wants to reward me, then lift my house arrest. The count knows Shenlang wants to cause trouble again, so of course, he won't let me run around. How about this? I'll reward your father with 300 acres of fertile land. Consider it fulfilling your filial piety. After saying that, he quickly left the room before I could refuse. I'm speechless. I just want freedom. Since I can't go out to handle the broadcast, I can only find him in the manor. Let's see how I can take down the meridians. It was during breakfast this morning that Shenlang told the maid, Xiao Bing, the story of the white tiger and the saying, an inch of time is an inch of gold. The maid was left completely confused. That evening, in the young lady's room, Xiao Bai couldn't figure out the relationship between white tiger and Guanyin, so she told the story to Miss Mulan. Mulan, who was taking a bath, was stunned at first, then suddenly realized something. She then instinctively covered herself, her face flushing crimson. She couldn't understand how Shenlang knew. Could he have been peeping on her while she was bathing? He has to get to the bottom of this. With that thought, Jean Mulan stood up from the bath. My husband should be back soon. Xiao Bing, help me dress. Xiao Bing looked bewildered. Why did Miss finish bathing so quickly today? Jean Mulan warned him, Xiao Bing, remember, you must always keep men in check. 3 days without a beating, and she'll tear the roof off. The soldier worriedly thought, is Miss going to hit master? Jean Moulin gave a wicked smile. My Jean family rule never allows fighting. A moment later, when Shen Lang returned, Jean Moulin was already waiting outside with a beaming smile. His wife's unusually enthusiastic behavior made Shen Lang wary. Moulin enthusiastically invites Shen Lang to play an action game with her. Shen Lang looks at his wife's curvy figure, and blushes. What game? How about after dinner? I'm afraid I won't be able to handle it. His wife's words filled him with anticipation. It's a game that requires intense physical contact. As the last bit of reason in Shen Lang was still struggling, Jean Moulin's next provocative move made it impossible for him to refuse. Since my lady is so enthusiastic, it would be disrespectful to refuse any further. 3 minutes later, moans of Shen Lang could be heard from the bedroom. Yang Zi for the first time, be gentler, or you'll break it. So Moulin is helping Shen Lang exercise. Shen Lang is in agony, stuck in a painful split. Moulin enthusiastically explains the exercise to him. She tells him to encourage his family to do it too. She says it's good for their health. You've mastered the movement, she says. Take a break, and then do it 10 more times. Heard it 10 times. Shen Lang has gone mad. My wife, you've worried me half to death today. Embracing the spirit of a true man, bending but not breaking, I immediately knelt and begged for your forgiveness, my wife. My wife, I was wrong. Jean Moulin still wore a fake smile. Where did I go wrong, husband? I was just helping you exercise. Although I don't know where I went wrong. Wei Tian is never wrong. Wherever Yang Zi says is wrong, is wrong. Jean Moulin finally stopped her fake smile. Seeing your attitude is not bad. Tell me. How did you find out about that secret? Why flirt with the soldier? Shen Lang was confused. What secret? Is teasing my own wife also called flirting? Suddenly, he used his X-ray vision eyes to look between Moulin's eyes. He realized what the secret his wife was talking about was. Looking at Shen Lang's shocked expression, Moulin also realized that Shen Lang didn't know. I've given myself away. But what Shen Lang said next immediately angered Jean Moulin. Don't worry, my dear. I won't discriminate against you because of this. Jean Moulin's face changed. She clenched her fists. Soon, incessant shouts were heard again from within the Earl's mansion. Shen Lang, beaten down late last night, went to sleep early. Jean Moulin watched Shen Lang curled up in his sleep like a baby. Her maternal instinct surged. She kissed Shen Lang on the face. After Jean Moulin left, Shen Lang immediately opened his eyes. Just by pretending to be asleep, he had already won over half of Jean Moulin's heart. This acting is Oscar-worthy. Then he put on a mask and gloves, picked up a small black leather pouch/bag. Remember the ryegrass fragments Shen Lang collected every night? Turns out they were the raw materials for a super transmutation agent. After several purifications, it has now basically reached its desired potency. Next, I need to figure out how to deal with Tianheng and his gang. Inside Xuanwu City, Tianheng and the Xuanwu City Lord were also plotting against Shen Lang and the Count. They not only invited the prefect, but also the governor's special envoy. They planned to move against Shen Lang tomorrow night. While the Xuanwu City Lord and the gang leader were discussing how to retaliate against him, Shen Lang was still stuck in the Count's mansion, unable to leave. But he wasn't idle. Every night at midnight he would quietly get up, and make a special kind of replacement. He already had a plan to deal with his enemy. In the morning, Miss Moulin discovered that one of her blue dresses was missing. Her servant, Xiaobing, immediately wanted to ask around the house. But Moulin stopped him at once, thinking that only her husband and the orderly have been in his dressing room. Could her husband have some special? I have to find a chance to ask Shen Lang first. At breakfast, Jean Moulin and Shen Lang didn't speak, but both had their own thoughts. Jean Moulin looked at Shen Lang, wanting to ask about the clothes, but blushed and couldn't bring herself to ask. I just hope Shen Lang doesn't get it dirty when he's up to no good. Finally, Shen Lang was the first to break the awkward silence. My wife has been traveling for several days. You must be exhausted. I've learned some massage techniques. How about I loosen up your muscles? Faced with her husband's sudden attentiveness, Jean Moulin didn't refuse, and she sat up straight, incredibly cooperative. She swept her long hair away from her back, revealing her snow-white swan-like neck. Faced with this beautiful neck, Shen Lang was stunned. After composing himself, he placed his hands on Jean Moulin's shoulders, and applied slight pressure. The perfect amount of pressure made Moulin feel incredibly good. Unconsciously, moans escaped her lips. Meanwhile, Shen Lang kept teasing, my wife, you're so tight. Is the pressure okay? Does it feel good? Husband, I don't have any proof, but I feel like you're being a scoundrel, but it does feel really good. Shen Lang looks at his wife with sincere concern. I just said your skin is very tight. It really makes me, as your husband, feel distressed. Moulin is touched, but immediately reacts, husband, you need something from me, don't you? Serving my wife and caring for her, do I need a reason? But there is indeed a small matter. Before Shen Lang could finish speaking, Moulin interrupted him. When I returned to the mansion yesterday, my father had a talk with me. He said that the ban on your poison abilities can't be lifted. Otherwise, you'll be in danger when you go out. Aside from that, Mulan hadn't finished speaking. I felt the hand behind me stop. I turned around and saw Shenlang was already at the door. My dear wife suddenly remembered something. I'll take my leave now. Mulan was speechless. This husband is too practical. I was just starting to feel something. I just said I wouldn't do you any favors. He ran away halfway through the massage. Moments later, Shenlang appeared behind his mother-in-law. After practicing on his wife just now, Shenlang's technique was now incredibly skillful. His mother-in-law also wore an expression of enjoyment. Not only that, but she also had on a facial mask made by Shenlang. Mother-in-law, this mask should be applied daily, hydrating and moisturizing. 15 minutes each time. You look like Mulan's older sister now. In 10 years you'll look like Mulan's younger sister. Shenlang's sweet talk made his mother-in-law incredibly happy. My dear boy, you must have something to ask of me. Mother-in-law, you're incredibly perceptive. I have something important to attend to. Please, mother, help me. Lift my confinement. My mother-in-law readily agreed, saying, I'll go talk to your father-in-law right now. A moment later, a guard came to inform Shenlang that his confinement had been lifted. After this incident, Shenlang deeply realized that there was nothing in this world that couldn't be done. The key is to find the right person. At this point, the relationships within the Earl's mansion have formed an ecosystem. Shenlang listens to Mulan. Mulan listens to the Earl. The Earl listens to his wife. His wife listens to Shenlang. And within this closed loop, the young master, Jin Wudong, is only oppressed. Before leaving the Earl's mansion, Shenlang asked the guards for some information. Then he left alone. But he didn't go home. Instead, he came to a dense forest. Then he took out a blue dress from his bag. So he really did steal his wife's dress. After changing into the dress, a slender and beautiful crossdresser emerged from the woods. Meanwhile, the Shah's father, Song Yi, had long wanted revenge on Shenlang for injuring his second son's genitals. He had long wanted revenge on Shenlang, but due to the Earl's powerful influence, he sought out the gangster Tianheng to conspire with him. However, Tianheng's words frightened him. A life for a life. As long as the evidence is conclusive, Count Fu won't get rich. Song Yi's face was full of doubt. He was only kicked and injured. How could it be murder? But I didn't expect Tianheng to be so ruthless. In order to frame Shenlang for murder, he actually beat Song Yi's injured son to death. Then, under Tianheng's coercion and inducement, Song Yi could only agree to frame Shenlang with his wife. Upon learning this, Shenlang also took action. The displacement agent he had spent several sleepless nights experimenting with, finally had a use. Shenlang slipped out of the Earl's mansion, and changed into women's clothing in the woods. He then went straight to Song Yi's house. At Song Yi's home, Song Yi had already taken his son to the city for medical treatment. He was alone at home. He kept cursing Shenlang, blaming him for ending his family line. After cursing until his mouth was dry, he drank a cup of water, and suddenly felt strange. His head felt like he was drunk. What he didn't know is, Shenlang had already added something to his water. After an unknown amount of time, Song's mother woke up. However, she discovered terrifying things floating around the room. The next second, his girlfriend, wearing a blue dress, floated out. Song's mother collapsed onto the ground in terror. Who are you? Why are you in my room? The female ghost wailed, vicious woman, you already harmed my Shah. Go to hell. Mother Song understood who it was. It's the Shah's. Could he be back for revenge? Suddenly, a flame appeared in the female ghost's hand. She hurled it directly at Mother Song. Song's mother blocked with her arm. Her arm was instantly burned by the flames. He grabbed a bowl of water nearby and splashed it on the flames. But not only did it not extinguish them, but it made the fire even bigger. Song's mother could only kneel and desperately beg for mercy. Sister, please don't kill me. I wasn't the one who abandoned your son. It was Song Yi's ghost who stepped forward. Her ice-cold hand lightly patted Song's mother's arm. And I went out. The ghost continued, heaven has pity on me, lowly as I am. My son didn't die. He was saved by a lucky star. But your son is dead. Song's mother shook her head desperately. My son is not dead. He's only injured. Song Yi will bring him back soon. The female ghost laughed heartily. He's dead. And he died a horrible death. Song Yi will be back soon to tell you this news. And he will make you frame Shenlang for beating him to death. Then I'll take you to Earl 2 to identify Shenlang. But actually, it was Song Mu and Tianheng who beat your son to death. Song Mu didn't believe it. My son wouldn't die. And he was indeed injured by Shenlang. Of course I'm going to identify Shenlang. The rain ghost suddenly became furious. How dare you? Do you want to die? Shenlang is my son's lucky star, and you're trying to harm him. Song Yu was terrified. Sister, I was wrong. I'll agree to anything you say. The rain ghost said Tianheng will make you frame Shenlang tonight. You need to agree first. But once you're at the Count's mansion, in front of these important people, you're going to retract your statement and say Song Yi kicked your son to death. And that Tianheng threatened and falsely accused you of what animal? You were also very scared. You were certain that the ruthless Tianheng would kill you. Don't worry, after you make your accusation, the Earl's mansion will protect you. If you're afraid of the consequences, I will drag you into the 18th level of hell, and ensure you can never be reborn. Also, wait for Tianheng. After you die, you can return home. At that time, I will reward you with 300 gold coins. You can use this money to remarry, and live a prosperous life. I have already buried 30 gold coins under your bed. Live or die, riches and honor, or the 18 levels of hell. It's your choice. After the female ghost finished speaking, a puff of smoke rose, and her figure vanished without a trace. I don't know how much time passed. Song's mother slowly woke up. Her head was throbbing. She thought everything just now was a dream. But looking at her arm, there was a clear burn mark. Could everything just now have been real? She immediately ran to the bottom of the bed, and picked up a small shovel to dig under it. There really are dozens of gold coins. But what's strange is, the gold coins are sealed in an icebox, and on the icebox are written a few large characters. Do you want to die or do you want to live? In the middle of summer, only hell would have an icebox. Seeing all of this, Mother Song completely believed what the female ghost said, then knelt down, kowtowing devoutly to the icebox. Ghost sister, I will definitely do as you say. As he kept kowtowing, the icebox slowly melted, revealing the gold coins inside. Song's mother counted the gold coins over and over. Exactly 31 hours later, Song Yi returned home. He forced out a few tears and told his mother, "My son was critically injured and died." Song Yi's mother thought to herself, the female ghost didn't lie to me. This Song Yi had conspired with Tianheng to kill her son. Then Song Yi told his mother to go to the Earl's mansion and accuse Shenlang of murder. Mother Song secretly vowed in her heart that everything was as the ghost sister predicted. I must avenge my son. After Song Yi and Tianheng finished giving their statements, she gathered a large group of black-clad gang members, and carried Song Yi's son's body to the Earl's mansion to cause trouble. Why choose to cause a commotion today? Because today the Earl's mansion will be welcoming two important figures. Earl Xuanwu. To show them respect, 20 men, even Mulan, were sent out of the camp. One of them is Yan Wuji, an advisor to Governor Zhu Rong, a governor equivalent to a provincial governor. He was once the Tanhua, third highest scorer in the imperial examination of the Yu Kingdom. After being forced to leave his official post, he taught and educated students. His students are all over the country. Governor Zhu Rong visited him 3 times, and even persuaded him to become his advisor. Generally, his words and actions represent the governor's will. The other is the local magistrate, Zhang Chong. He is also Shenlang's former father-in-law. This man is both civil and martial. Back then, in Dongjiang County, because the Earl of Dongjiang had occupied the area for many years, it was difficult for the imperial court to implement new policies. Zhang Chong forced the Dongjiang Earl into a corner in just 5 years. After the Dongjiang Earl's complete downfall, he was transferred here as the governor. Clearly, transferring him here was meant to deal with the local tyrant, the Xuanwu Earl. The Xuanwu Earl invited them to his mansion, and held a grand banquet. As an insignificant person today, Shenlang could only sit at the last seat, eating and drinking. After 3 rounds of drinks, Yan Wuji revealed his true purpose for coming to the Earl's mansion. 20 years have passed. The governor sent me to inquire about the Jinshan Island dispute, and whether you are willing to accept the governor's peaceful mediation. Over a century ago, the Earl of Nearshore in the north and the Earl of Black Tortoise both claimed Jinshan Island as their own territory, and fought bloody battles over it for 100 years. The island also has high-quality iron ore, and whoever possessed it would see their annual income increase by at least 30%. Finally, the previous king decreed that in 20-year cycles, the two sides will compete in both literary and martial arts. The winner gains the right to use Golden Mountain Island for 20 years. Unfortunately, 20 years ago, the Xuanwu Earl's house lost the written test, and therefore lost a large portion of Golden Mountain Island's revenue. The current financial crisis of the Earl's house is largely due to the loss of Golden Mountain Island. The Xuanwu Earl then asked Governor Yan Wuji how he intends to mediate. Yan Wuji said, "The governor has spoken. Peace is paramount. Jinshan Island will be divided in 2. The south belongs to the Xuanwu Earl's house. The north belongs to the Jinhai Earl's house." Upon hearing this, the Xuanwu Earl immediately became furious, but he couldn't show it. I could only change the subject, and tell everyone to drink, but everyone could see. This was blatant favoritism, bullying the honest ones, because Jinshan Island's mineral deposits are all in the north, while the south only has beaches and saline alkali land. Yan Wuji had also anticipated this outcome. Then he stopped speaking. He was just going through the motions on behalf of the governor's attitude. As for how your 2 noble houses fight, I have no opinion. The more viciously you fight, the better. Next, the banquet entered garbage time. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the door. Vaguely, I heard something about killing for life. Hand over Shenlang. Shenlang, who was just dozing off, suddenly perked up. The show has finally begun. But strangely, the big shots all seem to be deaf to it. They were all calmly drinking. No one ordered their men to inquire. Shenlang was getting a little anxious. This wouldn't work without someone taking the lead. Am I supposed to make things difficult for myself? At this moment, the foolish scholar Jin Wutsong finally made his presence known. He turned to Shenlang. Shenlang, it seems someone is looking for you outside. The Black Tortoise City Lord seized the opportunity and, following his words, ordered his men to check the situation outside. A moment later, his men reported that thousands of people were besieging the Count outside. Upon hearing this, the Black Tortoise Count, my head is spinning. Although they're calling Shenlang's name, it's clearly directed at the Duke's residence. He had already sent the butler to talk to Song Yi before, and had given Song Yi some money. At that time, Song Yi's son was not in any danger. Now, he wants to see what kind of scheme they have. A moment later, Tianheng and Song Yi entered, carrying a young man's corpse. As soon as he entered, Song Yi started cursing at Shenlang, thief. Give me back my son's life. The city lord, as the local official, had to step in and control the situation. Silence, he ordered. If you have a grievance, explain it, carefully. Song Yi, holding his son's body, tearfully recounted his story. Before Shenlang married into the Earl's mansion, he was a commoner from Maple Leaf Village. He had a minor conflict with my son. But I didn't expect that after marrying into the Earl's mansion, he would become arrogant. He couldn't wait to return to the village to show off. He beat my son, and he kicked me in the groin, injuring me critically. By the time I took him for treatment, it was already too late. He was beaten to death by Shenlang. He then pulled open his son's clothes. The wounds on his body were truly horrifying. Just because of a few verbal arguments, Shenlang beat my son to death. I beg you, my lords, please give me justice. Seeing this, Jin Mulan asked, when did your son die? Song Yi replied, after being beaten by Shenlang. That day he also died. Mulan Jin, your thinking is very clear. So why did you wait until today to come to the Earl's mansion to demand justice? Because I was too scared. That night, someone claiming to be a confidant of the Earl's mansion found me. He gave me a bag of gold coins, and threatened me to keep my mouth shut, or else he would kill my whole family. Upon hearing this, the Earl, his face turned pale with rage. He never expected that his moment of kindness would be twisted into a weapon against him. At this moment, the Lord of Xuanwu City continued, questioning him. You keep saying that Shenlang killed your son. Do you have any proof? There are witnesses. At that time, Shenlang broke into my house. Many villagers saw it. Moments later, several villagers from Maple Leaf Village came in to testify. I saw Shenlang enter the Song residence with my own eyes. Then I heard sounds of fighting and screaming. The city lord then asked Shenlang if he had anything to say in his defense. Shenlang claimed he only went to Song Yi's house to deliver money. He said Song Yi's eldest son, the Shah, is his good friend. He gave the money to the Song family so they could make the Shah some good food, so the Shah could have enough to eat every day. Song Yi shouted, you're lying. It was you. You kicked my son to death. My wife saw it with her own eyes. The city lord looked at the heartbroken Mrs. Song, and asked, are you sure you saw it yourself? Mrs. Song's eyes instantly filled with hatred. She gritted her teeth and said, I did see it. Hearing this, Song Yi kowtowed desperately, begging, please, your honors, uphold justice. Tianheng also echoed, according to our country's laws, a life for a life. A prince breaks the law. The common people are not exempt from punishment. Moreover, Shenlang is just a live-in son-in-law. I ask you, my lords, to uphold justice for my subordinate. Meanwhile, the black-clad gang members outside the Earl's mansion were also continuously shouting, a life for a life. The Black Tortoise City Lord pretended to be in a dilemma and looked at the Count. Your Excellency, according to the law, a murderer must pay with his life. Why don't you let my son-in-law escort me back first, and investigate the matter thoroughly? The Count thought, if I let you take Shenlang back, won't you be able to fabricate whatever story you want? While the Count hesitated, Madame Song suddenly jumped up, pointed at Tianheng, and yelled, my son was beaten to death by Tianheng. I saw with my own eyes my husband, Song Yi, brutally beat my son, and he kicked him across the room. My son's injuries weren't serious at first. He could have been healed if we had taken him to Xuanwu City. But after Master Tian visited him, my son suddenly died. And then he had me falsely accused and interrogated. Tianheng must have killed my son. I beg you, my lords, give me justice. With Song Shi's words, this sudden twist shocked everyone. Song Yi collapsed to the ground in shock, looking on in disbelief. The Xuanwu City Lord and Tianheng's faces both turned green. Their gazes pierced Xianmu like knives. What's going on? How did you manage that? How did Ostrich change his story? Tianheng, who had crossed swords with Shenlang many times, immediately reacted. He looked at Shenlang, but Shenlang wore a harmless smile. He realized this must be one of Shenlang's schemes. A strong survival instinct told him to leave as soon as possible, but Shenlang's eyes told him that he couldn't leave today. The Xuanwu city lord tried to coax him further. Song, are you heartbroken and talking nonsense? Song Yi reacted, and embraced his wife, wanting her to retract her statement. Zier, are you confused? Didn't you see Shen Lang, that scoundrel, kick our son away with your own eyes? What changed your mind? Mrs. Song stared at Song Yi with hatred. I clearly saw you kick our son. Shen Lang was just there to give him money. He just wanted to make sure Dasha had enough to eat. Song Yi trembled with anger. He knew his wife was no longer on his side. Tell me the truth. Did Shen Lang threaten you? Or did he give you some kind of benefit? The Xuanwu city lord also pointed at Song and threatened her. There will be serious consequences for giving false testimony. Think carefully before you speak. What reason would Song Yi have to kick his own son, and to kick his son in the groin? Song trembled and said, the reason for this is something a woman finds hard to speak of, but your actions speak volumes. I think you're lying. There's nothing difficult to talk about. What benefits did you gain from what you said? Were you coerced by him? Song clenched her teeth. She said it was because my son was getting older, and curious about women. That day he peeked at me while I was showering, so Song Yi got angry and yelled. As soon as she said this, the whole room was in an uproar. Song Yi felt like his head was about to explode. Is this really my wife? But she was irrefutable. In this already disastrous situation, Tianheng still wanted to use the Governor General and the Prefect to pressure her. Madam Song, don't do anything that would hurt yourself and please your enemies. If someone is coercing you, speak up. The Governor General's envoy and the Prefect will both uphold justice for you. Once these words were spoken, Yan Wuji and Zhang Chong both cursed him in their minds for being an idiot. In such a public setting, how could people of our stature help him intimidate others? But then Song Shijian had an even bigger concern. She threw herself before Yan Wuji and Zhang Chong, pleading, my lords, please grant me justice. No one present doubted the woman's words. The governor immediately ordered Song Yi's arrest. Ko Tianheng immediately panicked, and knelt down to defend himself. Your Excellency, this must be Shen Lang's scheme. He's always been extremely malicious. Shen Lang spread his hands, widened his eyes, looking like an innocent little rabbit. He hadn't said a word today. Tianheng and Song Yi were then tied up by their subordinates. Shen Lang understood. They ordered the arrests to immediately contain the damage and maintain control of the situation. Otherwise, if the Count holds them accountable for framing the Count's manner, they would be in serious trouble. Then the Black Tortoise City Lord also ordered that the Song family be brought back to the City Lord's mansion. As soon as these words were spoken, Madame Song was immediately terrified. I'm finished. If I'm taken back, I'm definitely dead. This matter didn't require Shen Lang's intervention. The considerate Countess stepped forward, ignoring Madame Song's odor, and directly took her hand, wiping the tears from his face. This poor woman, how can she endure your torment? Besides, show respect for the dead. Take this young man's body and give him a proper burial. You are now considered one of my Earl's estate people. Stay at the Earl's estate for a few days and rest well, so you won't be frightened again. He spoke while looking at the Prefect. You agree, don't you, Prefect? Lord Prefect. Although this action is not legal, it is reasonable. After all, both the Song family and the Earl's residents are victims now. The Prefect cannot reject it. He can only nod and agree. Then the governor invited Yan Wuji back to Xuanwu City to rest, and he ordered the Lord of Xuanwu City to thoroughly investigate the case. As the governor bid farewell to the Earl, he suddenly glanced at Shen Lang. Earl, your son-in-law is truly impressive. Anyone with discerning eyes knows that today's performance, although Shen Lang didn't say a word, he was the true director behind the scenes. Count Dracula personally escorted Yan Wuji and Zhang Chong out of the Count's mansion. Tianheng was escorted by two city lords' mansion guards, following behind them. At this moment, Tianheng's gaze was fixed on Shen Lang, as if he expected Shen Lang to pick him up at any moment. Shen Lang walked up with his arms crossed. Gang leader Tian, why are you staring at me like that? That's quite scary. Tianheng gritted his teeth and said, don't get cocky, Shen Lang. Shen Lang spread his hands as Tianheng winced in pain. Wow, you're still alive. Our ill-fated relationship isn't over yet. How could I die? I'm not that short-sighted. Tianheng couldn't help but laugh loudly. Who would want to kill me? The city lord's residence or the governor's office? Keep dreaming your grand dreams. Tianheng's words weren't wrong. The city lord of Xuanwu is his supporter. Arresting him is just for show. Once he reaches Xuanwu City, he'll be immediately released. Tianheng arrogantly guaranteed Shen Lang, believe it or not, I can get out of jail within 3 days, and be completely cleared of all charges. Shen Lang believed him. Being in cahoots with the city lord, he could easily escape any charges or have someone else take the blame. Finally, Tianheng threatened Shen Lang, after I get out, I'll hand over the wager to someone else. This way, I'll have no weaknesses. From now on, I will devote myself to one thing, and that is to kill him. Hearing this, Shen Lang returned a standard smile. He left him with only 5 words, Tianheng, you will die soon. Hearing this, Tianheng burst into laughter as if looking at a fool. What a pipe dream. At this moment, the nearby Xuanwu city lord couldn't help but walk over. Young Master Shen's case isn't closed yet. Don't speak so definitively. Perhaps tomorrow you'll be summoned to the city lord's mansion. Shen Lang watched their departing figures. The Xuanwu city lord's words were a veiled threat. Having just left the earl's mansion, the black-clad gang members outside were still cluelessly shouting about handing someone over, demanding a life for a life. At this moment, the Xuanwu city lord stopped pretending. He directly untied Tianheng. Before the governor got into the carriage, the Xuanwu city lord was still asking how this case should be judged. Could he really give up this opportunity to frame the earl's mansion? He still held out hope that Madame Song would change her testimony, and stick to the original plan. The governor turned directly to Tianheng. Tianheng, who allowed you to show up tonight? Tianheng immediately knelt down. This matter has nothing to do with me. As everyone knows, I have a grudge against Shen Lang, but I really couldn't help myself. This moment of revenge that sends Shen Lang to his death would be the most satisfying to witness firsthand, but I didn't expect to stir up so much trouble. Tianheng still hoped that the governor could bring Lady Song back from the earl's mansion, and then force her to talk. Yan Wuji couldn't stand listening to the words of these 2 idiots any longer, and boarded the carriage directly. Governor Zhang Chong turned around to reprimand them. He thinks 3 steps ahead, while you're only fixated on what's right in front of you. Do you think Shen Lang just wants to win this round? He wants you dead. Even with that said, Tianheng and the Xuanwu city lord still don't understand. Just because the Song family is retaliating, it doesn't necessarily mean they can kill Tianheng. Zhang Chong reminded me to go to Shatin 13. I hope you're still in time. Tianheng finally understood. Tian Shisan knows all my dirty secrets. If he bites back at me again, I'm dead for sure. He immediately ordered all his trusted men to kill Tian Shisan. It had been 3 days since Tian Shisan's legs were broken. For 3 days and 3 nights, he hadn't closed his eyes. His world had crumbled. The man who had raised him, his adoptive father who taught him martial arts, now, for the sake of the casino's profits, hadn't hesitated to break his legs. Although his adoptive father ignored Shen Lang's warnings afterward, I still found the best doctor in the city to treat him, and gave him 100 gold coins as compensation. It gave him a little warmth in his heart, but he still couldn't forgive his adoptive father, even though Tianheng promised him before leaving, that he would avenge him, and tear Shen Lang to pieces. Actually, he didn't hate Shen Lang. Shen Lang's target is Tianheng. He only has killing intent towards him. Threatening Tianheng, his life, is just a pawn in their fight. Although very sad, Tian Shisan secretly resolved never to betray his adoptive father. If Shen Lang tried to bribe me with money, I'd spit in his face. Shen Lang, you've misjudged me. Keep dreaming. But this was all just his imagination. Shen Lang didn't come to him for 3 days, and the slap in the face came so quickly. Suddenly, there was a commotion outside. Shen Lang didn't come, but his once inseparable sworn brothers did. Although they wore night clothes and masked their faces, he recognized the 2 leaders at a glance as his sworn brothers, Tian De and Tian Qi. Just now, in the Earl's mansion, Tianheng's attempt to frame Shen Lang failed, and he was even bitten back. While Tianheng was being escorted to the city lord's mansion, Magistrate Zhang Chong reminded him that Shen Lang not only wanted to imprison him, but also wanted him dead. He also ordered Tianheng to quickly deal with Tian Shisan. Tianheng then realized that Tian Shisan was his weakness. Tian Shisan knew all of his dirty secrets, and he had just broken his legs. If Shen Lang turns him, and he bites back, Shen Lang will certainly die. Immediately, the city lord's mansion and the prefect's mansion of Tianheng sent out 3 waves of experts. Under the cover of night, they rushed towards Tian Shisan's residence. Shen Lang had already been watching their every move. After learning that Tianheng wanted to silence Tian Shisan, he immediately found his wife, Mulan. My dear, how are your martial arts skills? Mulan said indifferently, not bad. If you were to face the 3 groups from the Black Cloak Gang, the city lord's mansion, and the prefect's mansion, could you defeat them? Mulan nodded. No problem. Although a little doubtful, Shen Lang still asked Mulan to quickly go to the Sanjia and save him. Without hesitation, lucky Mulan immediately summoned 3 warriors, Jin Zhong, Jin Hui, and Jin Cheng, to join the rescue. Just as Mulan was about to mount her horse, Shen Lang stopped her. My wife, I can't ride a horse. Could I ride with you? Without a word, Mulan grabbed Shen Lang and threw him onto the horse. Just like that, Mulan, along with 3 experts and 1 useless guy, quickly dashed out. The count's horse was incredibly fast. Shen Lang clung tightly to the horse's neck the entire time, for fear of falling off. Halfway there, Jin Zhong couldn't help but ask, 5th Master, we clearly could have saved Tian Shisan earlier. Why are we only rushing there now? Shen Lang glanced at Jin Zhong. It couldn't be more obvious. Just a few more You have the lowest IQ. Jin Qing explained to him. If the enemy doesn't kill Tian Shersan and Tianheng won't become enemies. Our rescue will be meaningless. We won't be able to put Tianheng in a fatal position. Meanwhile, at Tian Shersan's home, Tian Shersan recognized the two men in black, wielding long swords, as his eldest and seventh brothers. He still couldn't believe it. Eldest brother, seventh brother. Was it our foster father who sent you to kill me? Tian De and Tian Qi remained silent. The greatest grief is the death of the heart. Tian Shersan already knows the answer. He can only helplessly accept it. Eldest brother, seventh brother. Go ahead, but please spare my parents. They don't know anything. Tian De simply replied coldly. I'm sorry, we have to eliminate all traces. The previously despondent Tian Shersan immediately registered shock. Why shouldn't family be involved? But his only reply was a flying kick from Tian De and a mouthful of blood. Moments later, two elderly people were brought in. They knelt on the ground, trembling. They kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. Even as he was dying, Tian Shersan wanted to know why. Tian De, in his kindness, decided to let him die knowing the truth. Because you know too much. But I never thought of betraying my adoptive father. Tian Da's words cut even deeper. We can't take the risk. Your being alive is the biggest threat to the clothes. Hearing this, Tian Shersan was devastated. Suddenly, he burst out laughing. Then, he sprang up. He grabbed the sheet beneath him and threw it out, covering several men in black. He lunged at the two men holding his parents, but due to his disabled legs, he fell directly to the ground. No one expected Tian Shersan, with his broken legs, to still have such explosive power. But in the next second, Tian Da's sword stabbed directly into one of Tian Shersan's legs. Xing pinned Tian Shersan to the ground, immobilizing him. He then mocked him, asking if Tian Shersan's life had any meaning. Although he knew it was impossible, Tian Shersan still wanted to live a fortunate life. He truly understood how Shenlang felt when he wanted to save his parents. If he were alive, he wouldn't let Tian De and Tian Qi off easily. At this moment, Tian Shersan's parents stood in front of him, begging 13th Aunt for mercy while crying. Seventh brother stepped forward. He placed his longsword on 13th Aunt's mother's neck, about to slit the old woman's throat. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. Clang! The longsword in seventh brother's hand broke in two. A fragrant breeze wafted through. In an instant, the wrists of several assassins were severed. Their swords clattered to the floor. At the same time, several figures of exquisite beauty appeared in the room. She is Jean Mulan, daughter of the Earl of Xuanwu. The assassins stared as if they had seen a ghost. This terrifying combat power was a complete dimensional reduction attack. They had heard that Jean Mulan's martial arts were strong, but they didn't expect her to be this strong. A moment later, Shenlang peeked in. The battle was already over. His jaw dropped open. He stared in astonishment at the severed hands all over the floor, and at his wife, Mulan. My wife, what happened? I didn't see anything. Can you do it again? Hearing this, several assassins nervously guarded their other hand. Shenlang looked like someone who had never seen the world. My wife is so amazing. She can handle it on her own. Why did she bring 3 bodyguards with her? Jean Mulan didn't say anything. She just rolled her eyes at Shenlang. The 3 guards silently formed a triangle, surrounding Shenlang. Shenlang immediately understood. They must be here to protect me, this handsome man. In this room covered in blood, Shenlang reached out and took Jean Mulan's hands, and began to flirt. My lady, you're so impressive. What if one day I make you angry? Would you hit me? In front of all these people, Mulan still has some dignity. Shenlang then said, if you can't help but hit me, remember to give me a warning, so I can run away. Everyone else turned their heads away. I can't bear to look. Showing off your love at a time like this. Shenlang, aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? Shenlang then remembered the important matter. He stood behind the guards, and pointed at several assassins. Go back and give Tianheng a message. Tell him to wash his neck and wait for death. Tell the city lord, that when Lu Wuyan and the magistrate's son, Zhang Jin, kill Tianheng, remember to invite me. I haven't seen a beheading yet. Hearing Shenlang's words, the assassins broke out in a cold sweat. They understood that Tian Shersan knew everything about Tianheng's dealings. This time, Tianheng was surely doomed. The city lord and the governor will kill him to protect themselves. Then Shenlang walked up to Tian Shersan. He pointed at Tian Shersan. This Tian Shersan, I'm taking him with me. Do you have any objections? The assassins didn't dare to speak. Isn't that a rhetorical question? Our hands are broken. Even if we had objections, we're powerless to do anything. Finally, Shenlang said, hurry up and get out of here, before you bleed to death, and die on the road. Remember to take the severed hand on the ground. Without a word, the assassins picked up the severed hand and ran. As soon as they went outside, they saw dozens of Duke's Mansion cavalry lined up. The ground was littered with the corpses of their companions, so I ran towards Xuanwu City. Inside the room, Shenlang reached out a hand, trying to pull the sword out of Tian Shersan's leg. It was stuck so deep. Shen Lang then used both hands to pull the sword out. Afterward, Shen Lang looked at Tian Shirsan, without saying a word. Tian Shirsan was clever, though. After a slight hesitation, he knelt at Shen Lang's feet. Master, from now on, I am your loyal servant. Then, remembering all that Tian Heng had done, grief welled up inside him. Tears streamed down his face. Tian Shirsan is crying so sadly. It seems he's still reluctant. Tian Shirsan immediately stopped crying. He kowtowed to Shen Lang again. Very well, from now on your name is Shen Shirsan. I'll bring your parents to the Earl's mansion, in case you disobey me. Jean Mulan rolled her eyes at Shen Lang's petty words. I really don't want to admit I know him. Inside Xuanwu City Lord's mansion, Lu Wuyan listened to his subordinate's report with an ashen face. All the assassins I sent were killed. Tian Shirsan was also rescued by Shen Lang. Tian Heng's crimes, if they are revealed publicly by Tian Shirsan, I'll be executed 10 times over. Lu Wuyan felt an immense pang of fear. Everyone knows before Tian Heng defected to Zhang Jin, the Xuanwu City Lord was his biggest backer. By killing Tian Heng, he not only loses face, but also a large portion of his income. Later, Lu Wuyan asked his subordinate about Zhang Jin. He is Tian Heng's biggest backer now. His subordinate reported. Zhang Jin learned of the assassination's failure. He immediately rode at full speed to inform the prefect, just as Lu Wuyan's subordinate said. 1 hour later, Zhang Jin caught up to his father's carriage with the greatest speed, but his father, the prefect, only replied with 5 words. Zhang Jin was disheartened after hearing them. This time, he was truly slapped in the face by Shen Lang. Just as Tian Heng learned that Tian Shirsan had been rescued by Shen Lang, his face turned ashen. Tian Shirsan had been his most trusted subordinate. Aware of all his dirty deeds, now that he had failed to kill Tian Shirsan, he was sure to be bitten back. The crucial point was that he had also done a lot of dirty work for many important people, and they would certainly abandon him to protect themselves. This time, he's definitely going to die. He signaled his men to leave. Then he walked out of the Black Cloak gang. He looked up and roared. Is this really the end? I shouldn't have spared Shen Lang's life for 100 gene of arm strength. Overcome with hatred, he punched the wall. 2 lines of tears slid down. It hurt so much. Do I really have to use my last resort? I'm sorry, brother. Then, Tian Heng arrived at a secluded courtyard. After entering the study, he pushed the bookshelf. Behind the bookshelf, a secret passage leading underground appeared. Tian Heng walked to the end of the passage and came to a door. A door separated him. Faintly heard someone counting inside. 287,352, 287,353. Tian Heng unlocked the door and walked in. A surprised voice called out, Brother, I haven't even counted to 300,000 yet, and you're already here to see me. The voice belonged to someone who looked exactly like Tian Heng. It was Tian Heng's twin brother. Tian Heng placed the food box in his hand on the table. Upon opening it, it was full of meat and fish. The large man immediately picked up the food, and wolfed it down, as if he hadn't eaten in days. But through his full mouth, he still managed to say, Brother, you're so good to me. The large man then noticed the stiff expression on Tian Heng's face and the bloodstains on his hands. He asked Brother, if our case in Pei County had been exposed, Boss Lee of the Tianlong Escort Agency is coming for us. Don't worry, little brother. It's been 20 years. He won't find us. Just stay hidden here. Turns out Boss Lee raised them since they were young, and taught them martial arts. Taught them how to escort goods. But during one escort mission, Tian Heng, blinded by greed, killed his 2 Mun brothers, and robbed the caravan. From then on, the 2 of them embarked on a life on the run. The Han still regrets what happened that year. If you shouldn't have slept with Su Sanmei, why did you kill him? I was planning to marry him. Tian Heng quickly changed the subject. Brother, how are your martial arts skills lately? Show me. Then the big man obediently performed a set of boxing moves. His movements were powerful and dynamic. He punched a big hole in the wall. Tian Heng thought to himself, my younger brother is truly a martial arts prodigy. Just a little bit foolish. Then he asked his brother to take off his shirt, to see if their builds were still similar. His brother did so and took off his shirt. Their bodies were truly identical. Even the scars on their bodies were exactly the same. Little brother, you've liked imitating your older brother since you were young. Do you still imitate him well? The big man immediately changed his expression, imitating Tian Heng's vicious expression. Are you trying to oppose me, Tian Heng? You're really courting death. After speaking, he immediately changed back to his foolish expression. Don't tell me, my little brother does have a knack for imitation. He's even more Tian Heng than Tian Heng himself. Tian Heng pats his little brother's shoulder as if to say, that's so spot on. Let me teach you 3 more phrases. Make sure you remember them. The little brother nods happily, agreeing with his older brother's words without a doubt. The next day, at Shen Lang's ex-girlfriend, Su Qianqian's house, Magistrate Zhang's son, Zhang Jin, and the Xuanwu City Lord were still arguing whether to kill Tian Heng. Cut our losses. The magistrate had already ordered Zhang Jin to kill Tianheng quickly. Don't lose him again. Our target is the Earl. But Zhang Jin and the Xuanwu city lord didn't want to lose Tianheng, their cash cow. More importantly, killing Tianheng would mean losing face in front of Shenlang. At this time, the servants reported that Tianheng requested a secret meeting. It's unknown what Tianheng told them. The next day, Tianheng was publicly executed and sent to the execution ground. In court, Tianheng confessed to his crimes without hesitation. Finally, Lord Lu of Lu City declared that Tianheng's crimes were heinous. He was sentenced to death by beheading. Upon hearing the verdict, Tianheng laughed loudly. Even if I, Tianheng, die, I will die with grandeur. I will never become a bone beneath the knife. When you corrupt officials need me, you treat me like an honored guest. Once you no longer need me, you want me to be a prisoner. It's clear you can't defeat the gods, yet you want me to die. After saying that, he charged straight into the pillar in front of everyone. In an instant, his entire head was shattered and bloodied. He died on the spot. Everyone was in shock. They never expected that the one who once commanded great power in Xuanwu City, who had connections with both the black and white circles, would die like this. They couldn't believe it. This isn't over yet. At this very moment, a familiar figure has appeared in Su Qianqian's living room. When the news reached Shinan, she felt something was wrong. She even had some doubts. At this time, she was supervising Tian Shisan as he copied down Tianheng's crimes. Every single one of these is a murder. Each one is enough to sentence Tianheng to death. Shenlang waved to Tian Shisan to stop writing. Tianheng is already dead. Tian Shisan was also surprised. Could it be that Xuanwu City Lord Lu Wuyan and Zhang Jin killed him? Shenlang shook his head. He asked Tian Shisan if he knew whether Tianheng had any body doubles. Tian Shisan said he had never seen any. Tianheng's death didn't make Shenlang happy. Logically, compared to figures like counts, governors, and viceroys, Tianheng was just a small fry. It really wasn't necessary to use a body double. But Shenlang felt a lingering unease in his heart. Jean Mulan reminded Shenlang that Tianheng was dead. He should cross off the name on his wall of hatred. Shenlang asked Mulan, "Do you believe in intuition? And the better looking someone is, the more accurate their intuition is." Mulan was speechless at his narcissistic words. She didn't want to respond to him at all. Shenlang continued to explain, generally, the better looking someone is, the more attention they receive. So their senses are more refined. For example, if I'm walking down the street, and people are pointing at me, I can feel that they're all praising my handsomeness. So, my intuition tells me, that Tianheng isn't dead. But in broad daylight, everyone saw it. Shenlang continued his analysis, because Tian Shisan has already fallen into our hands. We have all of Tianheng's crimes in hand. Some of these crimes even implicate many important figures. Once made public, they won't be able to withstand the consequences. If I were Lu Ruyan, I wouldn't hold a public trial, or a public execution. I would have Tianheng secretly executed in prison. Besides, publicly executing a prisoner requires approval from the governor's office. That back and forth would take at least half a month. Tianheng could be suicided in prison. A public suicide, though. It seems like a show put on for us. Jean Mulan nodded. That makes sense, she said. Then Jean Mulan stood up. Let's go to Xuanwu City and examine the body. I'll know once I check. A moment later, they arrived at the Xuanwu City Lord's mansion. But they were still a step too late. Tianheng's body had already been burned to a crisp, completely unrecognizable. But this couldn't stump Shenlang. He had scanned Tianheng before, and remembered a needle in his lungs. It can't be burned with fire. So Shenlang activated his cheat-like X-ray vision. Sure enough, there was a needle inside the corpse in front of him. I didn't expect their disguise to be so meticulous. But Shenlang still found a flaw. Perhaps even Tianheng himself didn't know. The needle inside his body had been bent due to long-term pressure. But the needle on this corpse was straight. Shenlang smiled. Interesting. My wife will have another good show to watch tonight. We need to go back and prepare. Although the show hasn't started yet, I've already seen the ending. I'm truly outstanding. With such a narcissistic husband, Jean Mulan really can't bear to look. Turned around and was about to leave. Shenlang quickly chased after her. Tonight's success depends on my wife's martial arts skills. Meanwhile, in a secret chamber in Xuanwu City, a familiar figure appeared. He was the real Tian He. Su Qianqian handed him a green mask. The mask was coated with sulfuric acid. Tianheng took the mask. Her eyes were filled with hatred and killing intent. Her twin brother died in her place. From then on, she could only survive in darkness. And she had only one purpose in life: revenge. Su Qianqian reminded her to be careful not to let the strong acid hurt her eyes. Tianheng put the mask on her face without hesitation. The sizzling sound of burning skin filled the air. The smell of burnt flesh permeated the room. But Tianheng didn't cry out. His face only twitched slightly. After it was done, Tianheng stood up and was about to rush out. Lu Wuyan asked him, "Where are you going?" Tianheng gritted his teeth and said, Shenlang made me lose my brother. I can't wait another moment for my revenge. I'll make him feel the pain of losing loved ones too. Go in peace. I've already prepared a scapegoat for you. Someone will report Shenlang and he'll be exiled. He'll escape during the exile, to take revenge on Shenlang. The perfect scapegoat. So Tianheng, filled with hatred, headed toward Shenlang's family. That night, consumed by hatred, he arrived at Maple Leaf Village, where Shenlang's parents lived, carrying a broadsword. He crept up to the thatched cottage of Shenlang's parents, and listened carefully. He heard the breathing of 3 people inside. One of them was breathing with difficulty. It must be Shenlang's father. Tianheng slid his knife in, lightly slicing through the door bolt. The bolt snapped softly. He quietly slipped inside. By the moonlight, he could faintly make out a white-haired old woman in the first bed. It must be Shenlang's mother. Tianheng didn't hesitate. A knife struck toward the old man's neck. In an instant, blood splattered. The head was severed. Then another knife was swung at the old man beside him. He muttered, "Didn't you have lung problems? I'll split you in half. Then you won't have to cough so hard." The old man immediately fell silent. Finally, Tianheng arrived at another bed. The man on the bed still had a wooden stick tied to his tail. It was Shenlang's subordinate, Bobby T. His legs were broken by my men before. 1314, I'll hit him with a stick first to vent your anger. Then Tianheng picked up a stick nearby, and hit the man's legs on the bed. Suddenly, the sound of bones breaking could be heard, but the person on the bed only convulsed, without letting out a scream. Tianheng said coldly, "A family should be together. I'll send the 3 of you on your way first, and then kill God. Then you can be reunited." He then drew his broadsword, and stabbed the person on the bed in the heart. From beginning to end, the person in the bed didn't make a sound, and just died. Having killed 3 people, most of the hatred in Tianheng's heart dissipated. He laughed heartily at Shenlang. "I owe all of this to you. Just you wait, I'll come and kill you soon." Suddenly, the surroundings brightened. A handsome figure appeared at the door. I would recognize this person even if he were turned to ashes. Tianheng recognized him. His heart leaped with joy. "Shenlang, you little beast, you've delivered yourself right to me. You had a path to heaven but didn't take it. Now you barge into hell without a door. I'll give you your comeuppance today." Shenlang sneered. Tianheng, stop pretending. Tianheng was taken aback. He was confident he hadn't revealed any flaws. Shenlang must be bluffing. Shenlang continued, "You really are a beast. Just to save yourself, you actually let your twin brother die in your place. Do you remember the silver needle you put inside his body? Perhaps you don't even know yourself. The one inside your body is bent, but the one in the charred corpse was straight. Such a small detail. Shenlang knows it even better than I do." Tianheng was utterly astonished, but I still didn't dare to make a sound. He was still wondering where Shenlang was bluffing. Shenlang waved his hand. A large man with a badly burned face was thrown in. It was the real parents. Tianheng knew he couldn't hide it anymore. "Huh, so what? Shenlang, you're still too late. I've killed your whole family. The family you loved most. Shouldn't you be in agony right now?" But Shenlang's expression didn't change at all. Then he tossed a torch to Tianheng. "Tianheng, your eyesight is really bad. Take a look at who I killed." Tianheng picked up the torch. He was summoned towards the 3 corpses. His eyes were instantly filled with fear. He froze completely, because the 3 corpses were his wife, his trusted butler, and his son. After a long while, Tianheng let out a miserable cry. "No, no, no." Shenlang gloated from the side, forcing his wife to make Liang a prostitute. "You've done nothing but bully people and dominate the market with your son. Your evil deeds are beyond measure. Master Tian truly upholds justice, even at the expense of family. He acts in the name of righteousness." Hearing these words, Tianheng finally realized. He immediately raised his knife and charged at Shenlang. Shenlang swiftly sidestepped and dodged outside the door. Then a frail young woman appeared at the door, holding a sleeping little boy in her arms. Seeing the woman, Tianheng stopped immediately, and the knife in his hand fell to the ground. This woman was Tianheng's secret lover, and the child in her arms was his most beloved illegitimate son. Shenlang had his weakness in his grasp. Tianheng knew he could no longer resist. He calmly tore off his mask, revealing his face ravaged by sulfuric acid. He only wanted to die with some dignity. At this moment, Mulan arrived, clad in armor. Tianheng looked at Mulan. "I've heard Miss Jin's martial arts are exceptional. I, Tian, would like to experience them firsthand." Mulan bowed with her hands clasped. The 2 stood facing each other in the courtyard. Tianheng held a large saber. He was no longer someone's lackey. He was fighting for himself. Mulan held her sword. She took a stance, waiting for Tianheng's attack. Tianheng roared, "Kill!" The figure charged toward Mulan like lightning. As Tianheng drew near, Mulan lightly pushed off with her feet, narrowly avoiding Tianheng's form. All that was heard was the sound of weapons clashing. Mulan sheathed her sword. Tianheng's knife had already shattered. Tianheng looked down at his chest. A thin wound appeared. Blood gushed from the wound. Shenlang and the others were shocked. Mulan's martial arts skills were so high, she gave Tianheng no chance at all. Tianheng was now lost in memories before his death. He remembered when Li, the head of the Tianlong escort agency, took him in, and taught him martial arts. He taught them escorting, but during one escort mission, Tianheng's greed got the better of him. He killed his fellow disciples, and robbed the clients. From then on, the two brothers were on the run. If it weren't for that reckless act, he and his brother could have married fellow female disciples, live a peaceful life. Shenlang approached Tianheng. A slap woke him from his memories. Tianheng, wake up. I went to great lengths to kill you. Before you die, you have to tell me something useful. As soon as these words were spoken, Tianheng, who was about to die, was instantly revived by Shenlang's anger. Just as I was about to curse you, you coughed up blood. You good-for-nothing, wife-reliant freeloader. Even when you're dying, you won't leave me alone. Shenlang continued, I brought your son here, not to see some sudden repentance, or a prodigal son's return. You need to tell me something, so I can take good care of your son. Hearing this, Tianheng knew he was in imminent danger. Though he cursed Shenlang and his family in his heart, he confessed honestly, the cellar in the left courtyard of White Snow Manor is Lu Wuyan's secret vault. Most of the gold I bribed him with over the years has been sent there. Shenlang slapped him again. This is all of it. There's nothing else. The evidence of Lu Wuyan and the governor's crimes, ignoring his injuries. Tianheng spat blood and cursed at Shenlang. You bastard. Are you going to let anyone die in peace? These civil officials are all as cunning as you. Even if it touches the tip of a calligraphy brush, it's still gold. How could they have a fatal weakness in my hands? Shenlang thought about it and agreed. Then you can die in peace. Shenlang, damn you. Then, after Tianheng's furious roar and curse, Tianheng knelt on the ground and died. Shenlang looked at Tianheng's corpse, his eyes wide open in death. He coldly ordered his men to cut off Tianheng's head, put it in the finest box, send it to the city lord. Turning around, Shenlang shamelessly called out to Lady Jean Mulan, there's no time to lose. Let's go to Snow White Manor and loot Tianheng's place. An hour later, they arrived at Snow White Manor. I took down the guards with ease. Looking at the chests of gold coins before me, I sighed, this generation of corrupt officials is incompetent. After more than 3 years as city lord, he only saved up a little over 10,000 gold coins. Mulan explained, he likely spent most of it bribing Lu Wuyan. This is probably all that's left. This is still more than enough for me to splurge several times over. This money, along with what I seized from Su Wenjiao, can greatly alleviate the Earl's Mansion's financial crisis. Is the Yangtze Earl's Mansion short of money? Very short. Since losing Golden Mountain Fort 40 years ago, the Earl's Mansion has been running at a deficit every year. And because the previous Xuanwu Earl incurred massive debts, the Earl's Manor is in debt every year. Now, these two sums of money have become an urgent need for the Earl's Manor. After emptying Lu Wuyan's treasury, Shenlang looked at the empty treasury, and wrote a few large characters with a crystal pen for Lu Wuyan. It wasn't Shenlang. Maybe it could anger Lu Wuyan to death. Meanwhile, at Lu Wuyan's place, he was enjoying a drink while waiting for good news from Tianheng. Just then, his subordinate reported that Boss Tian had sent a box, and sent a message saying that the matter had been taken care of. Lu Wuyan impatiently ordered his subordinate to bring the box over and open it. Upon opening it, Lu Wuyan's face turned pale with shock. Inside was a bloody head. Although the face was disfigured, Lu Wuyan recognized it instantly as the disfigured Tianheng. Before I could catch my breath, my men came to report something urgent. It's bad. All our gold at Snow White Manor has been robbed. Hearing this, Lu Wuyan was struck as if by lightning, frozen in place. Then, his men handed him a note. They left this after taking the gold. After Lu Wuyan read the note, his face twitched a few times. He suddenly looked up to the sky and roared, cursing Shenlang's family. Then he fell backward, unconscious. Every time the man kills someone, he crosses a name off the wall. Today was the third name he crossed off his list. While he was contemplating how to get revenge on the others, his servant brought him an invitation. It was a wedding invitation for his ex-wife, Su Qianqian, and the city governor's son, Zhang Jin. Shenlang was furious when he saw it. This adulterous couple had been together while he was still married to Su Qianqian. They openly cuckolded him. Now they were inviting the entire city's elite. Your engagement party. Shenlang secretly decided to first ruin Su Qianqian's reputation, and then destroy the Su family's business. While Shenlang was racking his brains for a vicious plan to take revenge on the Su family, Kakenoki Tomokazu sneakily came to find him. Shenlang, I have something good to show you. Kakenoki now completely considered Shenlang his best friend, someone he could tell anything to. He slyly pulled out a picture book from his arms. It was an erotic painting. Seeing the album, Shenlang immediately had an idea. First, he had to bring Jin Mutong, his pawn, into this. Shenlang stared intently at Jin Mutong. Fatty, do any girls like you? Jean Moutong's eyes immediately reddened. Shen Lang, I considered you a friend. I couldn't wait to share something good with you, but you stabbed me in the heart. I'm leaving. Just pretend we never met. The chubby guy turned to leave. Shen Lang called out to his brother-in-law, do you know why no girls like you? Jean Moutong stopped but didn't answer. Shen Lang continued, because you're ugly. Hearing this, Jean Moutong suddenly felt like he was being stabbed by countless knives. He was deeply wounded inside. Shen Lang patted Jean Moutong's shoulder. Look. I can't lend you my stunning looks, but I can lend you my talent. As long as you are brimming with talent, famous throughout the land, are you afraid there won't be girls secretly admiring you? Jean Moutong's eyes lit up immediately. This works too. We'll get Shen Lang to tell us his plan, and we'll collaborate on a great book. Then we'll make it a national bestseller. And then, as one of the authors, what do you think will happen? Jean Moutong immediately imagined himself as a famous and talented scholar, swarmed by admiring fans clamoring for his autograph. He could hardly wait to begin. Brother-in-law, how should we write it? He asked. Tell me. Shen Lang said, pointing to the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. I'll dictate, and you write. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy textile merchant, named Shiman Qing, Zi Guangming. Everyone calls him Shiman, the high official. He has a daughter named Shiman Qianshan. This Shiman is despicable and shameless, debauched and immoral. He has persecuted countless virtuous women. As the saying goes, like father, like daughter. That Shiman Qianshan, just like her father, can really move. After writing a passage, Jean Moutong realized Shen Lang was using the pretense of writing a book to smear Su Qianshan. But for the sake of becoming a talented person, he continued happily with his transcription work. In this way, Shen Lang replaced the protagonist's name in the famous book with Shiman Qianshan, and enhanced the descriptions of some details. In one afternoon, he had already transcribed a thick stack. This Jean Moutong's hand speed is really fast. He can totally keep up with Shen Lang's speed. Shen Lang couldn't help but sigh. This lion's hand speed is truly a natural gift. Jean Moutong said leisurely, if you started from 8 years old, copying books 10 times a day, you'd also be gifted. Next, Shen Lang personally stepped in, and drew a few extremely explicit illustrations. And it's done using the technique of Western oil painting. The realistic effect made Jean Moutong's blood boil. Brother-in-law, how are you so outstanding, and so knowledgeable about the human body? How could Shen Lang tell him that he's still a virgin? All these ideas come from various teachers' little films. In the following days, the two work together in perfect harmony. Shen Lang draws illustrations. Jean Moutong dictates. We finally finished the first lesson 20 days before Su Qianshan's engagement party. Brother-in-law, what should we call this book? Let's call it Boundless Romance. What pen name should we use? Lang Ling's laughter. Jean Moutong applauds. Hao Mingzi then blushed shyly. Brother-in-law, I've been busy transcribing these past few days. I haven't had a chance to look at it carefully. Could you lend it to me tonight for a closer look? Shen Lang understood his intentions, and pulled out an illustration. He handed him the text portion. Here, take a look. Don't hurt yourself. Jean Moutong stared at the illustrations. He was a little disappointed, but it's better than nothing. So, he happily took the text portion back to appreciate. A few hours later, Shen Lang was appreciating the illustrations. Jean Moutong suddenly came in with a heartbroken expression. Brother-in-law. Shen Lang's face was filled with shock. Run. What's going on? It turns out Kaneki Ken was engrossed in the manuscript. When the Count came to check his work, he discovered Kaneki reading the book, and without a word, beat him half to death. In the end, the Count confiscated the manuscript. Kaneki was overcome with shame, hurriedly leaving. Don't forget to remind Anatomy to run away too. My dad will definitely beat you to death. Shen Lang pondered how to face his rigid father-in-law. I tricked his son into writing such a vulgar book. Even if I'm not beaten to death, I'll probably lose a layer of skin. Racking his brains like this, Shen Lang waited for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but his father-in-law still hadn't arrived. He couldn't take it anymore. Shen Lang fell asleep. Suddenly, he felt a shadow looming over him. When he opened his eyes, he found his father-in-law staring at him intently. He was holding the manuscript in his hand. Shen Lang felt a pang of pain and quickly regained his focus. He sat up. My father-in-law slammed the book on the table. Shen Lang wrote this book. Shen Lang nodded. My father-in-law expressionlessly held out his hand. As soon as Shen Lang extended his hand, slap 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 asterisk 3 hard rings landed on it. Shen Lang didn't dare to resist at all, waiting for the real storm to come. But after waiting for a long time, my father-in-law picked up the book again and told me the writing was not bad. To my astonishment, he then corrected himself, saying it wasn't just not bad, it was excellent. He said the literary skill was very high, and the exposure of human nature, and the essence of society, penetrating, profound. One could say it's a rare masterpiece in recent years. Shen Lang thought, does that even need to be said? Even great men call it the most extraordinary book of all time. Even Dream of the Red Chamber has to take a backseat to it. I didn't expect my traditional, old-fashioned father-in-law to have such high praise for it. But what made Shen Lang angry was, you knew it was a good book and you still hit me. So when my father-in-law first saw such a salacious book, he was also incredibly angry, especially since it was Shen Lang who got his good-for-nothing son hooked on it. But after he read a few chapters, he couldn't put it down. He read the whole book in one sitting. Then he even shared it with the Countess. When I got to the details, my body was inadvertently ravaged by the Countess a few times. That's why I kept Shen Lang waiting for several hours. My father-in-law looked through the manuscript again, and sighed, saying it was fortunate he hadn't impulsively torn it up. Otherwise he would have been a sinner for the ages. Although I am a traditional man, my perspective on literature and art is quite broad. The banquet is just a literary device. Many contemporary masters have similar works. Shen Lang didn't expect the people in this world to be so open-minded. But then my father-in-law changed his tune and said, it's a good piece of work. Why are you sneaking in your family's private matters? Remove all that Su family nonsense. Shen Lang immediately objected, I wrote this book to get revenge on the Su family. I'm not sacrificing my revenge for literary achievement. Isn't this putting the cart before the horse? Hearing these shameless words, my father-in-law was speechless. A reputation that would last for centuries is less important than your prank. Then he asked me why I brought that good-for-nothing Jin Mutsong along at this time. I played coy, saying it was to ward off evil spirits. After all, Su Qianshan is my ex-wife. This will make me appear narrow-minded. In reality, it's for the future struggle for Jinshan Island. My father-in-law looked at me in disbelief. He didn't expect that I had already planned so far ahead. Heaven has truly sent me a good son-in-law. He couldn't help but raise his opinion of me even higher. Then I asked my father-in-law, do you think our book will be a hit? My father-in-law declared that this book will shock the entire literary world. This gave me even more confidence. This time, Su Qianshan will definitely be disgraced. I couldn't help but beam in front of my father-in-law. However, after my father-in-law left with a darkened face, I still followed his instructions. I made some deletions and revisions to Boundless Love. I made the allusions to the Su family more subtle. For example, I deleted Shiman Qing's self-proclaimed title, Guanyu Shiman Qianshan, and changed it to Shiman Xianxian. I hope discerning readers can still make the connection. My ex-wife's engagement is only 20 days away, so I took my brother-in-law to Blue Mountain City, over 100 miles away, to contact Pan Yin about publishing. Blue Mountain City is a famous cultural city. Almost all bestsellers come from there. If you want to cause a sensation, that's the place to go. Sure enough, upon entering the city, I saw bookstores and bookstalls everywhere. The air was filled with the cries of booksellers. A book called Mandarin Duck Dream was incredibly popular. There was even a countdown to the release of its sequel at the entrance of every bookstore. Shen Lang heard that there were 5 major book houses in Blue Mountain City. They don't just sell books. They also print and distribute them. And they have chain stores in surrounding cities. The 2 biggest are called Ma Xianlu and Ruyu. Ma Xianlu sounds like a place for serious books. So Shen Lang took his brother-in-law to Ruyu Pavilion. As soon as they entered the store, a shop assistant eagerly tried to sell them that Mandarin Duck Dream. Shen Lang glanced over. With a contemptuous smile, he thought, this is obviously a melodramatic story meant to swindle naive girls out of their allowance. My books, on the other hand, are meant to appeal to readers of all ages and genders. Shen Lang's laughter immediately drew the displeasure of a handsome young man nearby. After inquiring, he learned that he was Zhu Wenhua, the author of this Mandarin Duck Dream. He was also the second son of the local Blue Mountain Viscount. This Blue Mountain Viscount, my family is called the disgrace of the nobility by other nobles, because when the new imperial policy began, Viscount Lanshan voluntarily surrendered his fief and military power, and became a favorite of the emperor. But this also incurred the dissatisfaction of other nobles. This whole maneuver made it seem like anyone who didn't proactively surrender was disloyal. And this Zhu Wenhua, because he's the second son, unable to inherit the title, he could only find another way. While taking the imperial exams, he also worked on his reputation. So he wrote this book, The Dream of Mandarin Ducks, crafting the persona of a talented scholar. His ultimate goal was to marry Xuanwu's top talent, Zhang Chanhua, and become the son-in-law of Prefect Zhang Chong. Basically, a male version of Su Qianshan. Thinking about this, Shen Lang figured he would be his enemy in the future, so there was no need to be polite to him. Shen Lang said with a smile, just looking at the idiotic title makes me want to laugh. Hearing this blatant provocation, Zhu Wenhua glared fiercely, and demanded Shen Lang's name. Before Shen Lang could speak, Jin Mutsong said, I'm Xuanwu Fujufushitsi. Jin Mutsong is my brother-in-law. Shen Lang, don't. Hearing these 2 names, Zhu Wenhua's expression changed. Then he was overjoyed. He was just worrying about how to curry favor with Zhang Chanhua. Miss, you 2 pieces of trash have finally arrived. He sneered, so, it's the 2 disgraces of prominent families. One, born noble, yet utterly stupid, causing her sister's inability to marry outside the family. and now being criticized by an unrestrained good-for-nothing. Shen Lang didn't refute him. I am that unlearned, freeloading pretty boy. And today, I'm going to step on you, the most celebrated talented captain. Then, Shen Lang called over the bookstore's manager. Zhu Wenhua sneered from the side. Who cares about those who don't like reading? You probably can't even recognize the characters. The fiery Jin Wutong, upon hearing this, was about to start probing. But who scolded him? The owner of Rongyud was very respectful in attitude. In the end, he was unwilling to take sides. He just wanted to casually flip through the book, find another excuse to knock him down. But after a few glances, his expression suddenly changed. His eyes lit up. This unexpected twist in the plot, this profound analysis of human nature and worldly affairs, these meticulously detailed descriptions, it's truly more stunning the more I look at it. It really makes one slap the table and laugh. But the shopkeeper also considered that Du Pavilion's customers mainly prefer lingering and sentimental love stories, and they might not be interested in this book. I'm afraid it won't make any money. While the shopkeeper was hesitating, Zhu Wenhua snatched the book. I skimmed through a few pages. His expression was like he was constipated, utterly wicked and godless. Then he mindlessly disparaged it. I never thought this book would be so vulgar and unbearable. He then threw the book to the shopkeeper. My book simply cannot be sold alongside this one. If you insist on publishing this book, then my book can't be in this. The bookstore owner definitely doesn't want to let go of it. It's already a done deal. He'll suffer a big loss then. He has no choice but to respectfully return the book to Shen Hao. Jin Mutsong immediately got angry. My book is so good, you guys really have no taste. Shen Lang, however, remained calm and called Jin Mutsong aside for a chat, because he already had a foolproof plan in mind. I can both suppress Wenhua Baozi, and search for Qian Qian everywhere. After being rejected by all the reputable booksellers, Shen Lang and Jin Mutong came to a small alley, and met a shifty-eyed book publisher. The publisher took the manuscript, and read it at a glance. Couldn't help but sigh, what a great book. It even has illustrations, and they're so lifelike. Jin Mutsong overjoyed, so it can be printed and published. Of course. Such a good book. The detailed descriptions paired with the exquisite illustrations. It's amazing. Jin Mutsong asked with a puzzled look, aren't you afraid of the cultural backlash from Lanshan Ziju's casting axes? The calligraphy and painting shop owner chuckled, I'm just a blueprint seller. How could he possibly suppress me? Jin Mutsong couldn't help but exclaim, oh my god. Our books have actually been reduced to being sold alongside blueprints. Shen Lang explained to Jin Mutsong, don't think those legitimate booksellers are so high and mighty when it comes to distribution channels. Still, it's this boss Deng who points with a finger. Their coffin lists around 20 cities in the Soviet Union are all for sale. Boss Deng is not modest at all. Such a masterpiece will definitely sell well. At least 3,000 copies to start. Shen Lang only made one request. To release it alongside the second volume of Zhu Wenhua's Mandarin Duck Dream. He wants to crush him completely. Boss Deng lost his confidence after hearing Shen Lang's request. He immediately lost his nerve. You see, the first volume of Mandarin Duck Dream sold 4,600 copies. It's a sales record in Blue Mountain City. Now numerous readers are eagerly awaiting the second volume. The sales will only increase, not decrease. As for Boss Deng's own art book, it only sold 2,600 copies at most. A good book needs publicity. Even the best wine needs marketing. Shen Lang heard this and thought, isn't it just about grabbing attention? No problem, I guarantee this book will be a sensation when it's released. Just go all out with the promotion. If the sales don't reach 3,000 copies, then I won't. But if it exceeds 3,000 copies, Boss Deng will be reasonable. He'll give you 20% of each book. That's a considerably high royalty. After the deal was struck, Shen Lang asked the boss to wait a moment. He improvised on the spot, and added a new character to the book. His name is Zhu Wenshan. He was born a commoner from a fallen noble family. He is Lord Shiman's male favorite, and he also secretly fornicated with Shiman's wife. And it comes with vivid illustrations. Jin Mutsong held a moment of silence for Zhu Wenhua. Brother-in-law, you're ruthless. Zhu Wenhua just offended you. My reputation will be ruined. After Shen Lang and Boss Deng finalized the release date, he left with Jin Mutsong. Once back home, Shen Lang transformed into an artist, and started painting a giant poster. The poster's colors were vivid and sexy. The scale is unprecedented. In this era of freehand painting, the impact is absolutely explosive. It's just one word, real. Jin Mutsong just glanced at it and his nose started bleeding. And Shen Lang needs to paint more than a dozen of these posters. A few days later, all the posters were finished. Although Jin Mutsong didn't do anything, I'm exhausted from waiting. Jin Mutsong sighed, being an artist is really tough. Just then, Jin Mulan walked in. Husband, she asked, what have you and my brother been secretly doing these past few days? Before Shen Lang could answer, she saw the poster on the table. Oh, so, husband, you have this kind of hobby. I won't disturb you. Without waiting for Shen Lang to explain, she left with a look of annoyance. It seems Shenlang's marital lessons will continue for a few more days. Meanwhile, while Shenlang was busy designing posters, Boss Deng used all available manpower and resources to work overtime. Finally, on the day before the release, the book printing was completed. Soon, Shenlang, Jin Mutsong's Boundless Love and Zhu Wenhua's Mandarin Duck Dream were all released on the same day. As expected, Mandarin Duck Dream sold like hotcakes early in the morning. There's an endless stream of people lining up to buy it. Zhu Wenhua, in disguise, squeezed into the crowd, listening to the satisfying compliments. He felt like he was in heaven. I am a male god. My confidence shines. Only the number one talented woman, Zhang Chunhua, is worthy of me. When the street was at its busiest, suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, "Look!" Everyone's attention was drawn over. Giant posters had appeared in front of all the major bookstores. The unprecedented burst of color immediately caught everyone's eye. The lifelike quality of the portraits of the male and female protagonists, Ximen Xian and Zhu Wanshan, on the posters was truly unprecedented. Meanwhile, a bookstall appeared below each poster, and they were only selling one book, Boundless Love. As the salesman hawked his wares, Boundless Passion, a grand saga based on the true stories of the wealthy elite. If you don't like it, you don't pay. Everyone flocked to the bookstall. Although Boundless Passion was 20 yuan more expensive than Mandarin Duck Dream, upon seeing the lifelike illustrations, everyone pulled out their money without hesitation. In an instant, Shenlang's new book completely overshadowed Zhu Wenshan's. That evening, Old Deng, the bookstore owner, came to report the sales figures to Shenlang. They were selling like crazy. They sold 3,000 copies in just one day. Meanwhile, Zhu Wenhua's Mandarin Duck Dream only sold 500. All of this was completely within Shenlang's expectations. Jin Mutsong asked how many copies they estimated they would ultimately sell. Old Deng only said one word, incalculable. Meanwhile, Zhu Wenhua was at his residence, holding a celebratory feast with a group of his dissolute friends. Listening to the flattery of several scholars beside him, he felt he was one step closer to marrying Zhang Chunhua. At that moment, shopkeeper Lu Yufang came to report the day's sales of the new book. As per young master's instructions, we limited the sales. Today's sales were quite good. I sold 260 copies in the first hour. A total of 530 copies were sold in one day. But the bookstore owner had a complicated expression. He seemed to have something to say. Xu Wenhua became anxious. What was he hinting at? He said that Fengyue Wubian sold over 3,000 copies today. The boss just finished speaking. Silence. Everyone was stunned. They thought they had misheard. Zhu Wenhua was the first to react. Outrageous. This is impossible. How good could a book written by that loser Shenlang be? Besides, there are only 3,000 literate people in the entire Blue Mountain City. What he doesn't know is that even those who can't read will not hesitate to buy the book for its exquisite illustrations. Boss Fang handed Zhu Wenhua a copy of Boundless Passion. Zhu Wenhua was about to take it and throw it away, but he was attracted by the cover image. So I started reading. At first, what garbage. Half an hour later, wow, you can write like this. An hour later, he was completely captivated by the story and illustrations. After finishing the whole book in one go, faced with the expectant gazes of several sycophants, he still refused to admit it, and slammed the book to the ground. What a lousy book, utterly vulgar, using obscene words and illustrations to attract readers is a despicable tactic. Suddenly, a scholar pointed at an illustration in the book. Doesn't the man in this picture look familiar? Zhu Wenhua's face suddenly changed dramatically. I hadn't realized it just now, but combining the characters, plot, and illustrations, it turns out the Zhu Wenshan in the book is actually a caricature of me. Shenlang is clearly trying to get back at me. In a fit of rage, Zhu Wenhua tore the book to shreds. Then Zhu Wenhua's eyes darted around. I'm trying to rouse you scholars, my good fellows. This book is utterly vulgar, trampling on human nature and morality. It will surely corrupt public morals. As scholars, we have a duty to sweep away this filth, and create a righteous and harmonious society here in Huanshan. Gather everyone you can. Let's go to the city lord's mansion and demand justice. Immediately, several sycophants chimed in. But this time, they were in for a rude awakening, because at this moment, the city lord of Lanshan was also reading Boundless Romance, and he was singing its praises. In fact, after finishing it, he felt that the copy of Mandarin Duck Dream next to it was utter garbage. A complete waste of time. At this moment, my subordinate's report brought bad news. Hundreds of scholars are besieging the city lord's mansion. Li Fang's head suddenly felt like it was about to explode. Dealing with scholars causing trouble has always been a headache. This group of people, I can neither hit nor scold. If I don't handle this well, it will affect my political achievements. The city lord immediately asked the crucial question, who is leading them? Upon hearing it was the talented scholar Zhu Wenhua, Li Fang immediately relaxed. He had already guessed what Zhu Wenhua wanted. He couldn't help but feel contempt for Zhu Wenhua. Then he let Zhu Wenhua in. A moment later, Zhu Wenhua entered. He simply bowed his hands to the city lord. Then he took out Shenlang's book, Boundless Romance. He then stated his request, asking Li Fang to ban the book, and arrest the author, confiscate the printing blocks, and burn all the books. Because this book is vulgar and obscene, it defiles the sages' teachings. It not only misleads people, but also corrupts public morals. Li Fang took the book and flipped through it casually. Does this book deny the doctrines of the sages? Zhu Wenhua remained silent, because the book didn't explicitly deny them. Li Fang then asked if it attacked the court. Zhu Wenhua was again speechless. Li Fang scoffed, "There's nothing. What grounds do I have to ban it?" Zhu Wenhua immediately became anxious. "This book is vulgar and obscene, and even impersonated me, tarnished my reputation. Isn't that enough?" Li Fang laughed in anger. "There are plenty of books more vulgar and obscene than this. Even erotic books can be sold. Why can't this book be sold? There are so many people with the same name in the world. Besides, the characters in this book don't share your name. How do you know it's the Shadow Saint?" Zhu Wenhua realized the city lord's attitude was off. "City Lord Li, are you trying to shield Shenlang?" Li Fangzheng said, "Talented Zhu, I advise you not to be jealous of his skill. You can't ban someone just because their book is better written than yours, and sells better than yours. Take this, Boundless Romance, and read it carefully. You'll learn a lot. This is a blatant insult to my face." Zhu Wenhua stormed off. "Since the city lord won't do anything, we'll get justice ourselves." After Zhu Wenhua left, the advisor asked the city lord why he didn't stop him. Li Fang chuckled darkly. "The person who wrote this book, he must be a fascinating character. I'll take this opportunity to see what he's capable of." He then ordered a squad to follow Zhu Wenhua and the others. Meanwhile, Shenlang had already prepared a trap, waiting for Zhu Wenhua and his men to walk right into it. Zhu Wenhua was quite clever, however. He gave his lackey Wang Shiming 30 gold coins. "I didn't show up myself, but had Wang Shiming lead several hundred scholars to surround the printing house of Boundless Passion." Seeing the large commotion outside, the owner of the printing house, Old Deng, poked his head out to check the situation. Wang Shiming shouted to him, "This indecent book, Boundless Passion, corrupts the minds of scholars, and degrades social morality. Hand over all the books and burn them in public." Old Deng thought, "Shameless. Half of these books were bought by you scholars, yet I still have to put on a smile and welcome you gentlemen. All the books are sold out today. There's not a single book left in the bookshop." But the scholars didn't believe him. Wang Shimin raised his arms and shouted, "Brothers, rush in and smash up this bookseller's shop. Find that poisonous book and burn it." Old Deng tried desperately to stop them, but there were too many. He couldn't stop them at all. In no time, the mob found several large bundles of books in the study storeroom, and the oil paper wrappings all bore the words, "Boundless Passion." Over 2,000 copies in all. The crowd was incredibly excited, because Zhu Wenhua had said, he would give them a silver coin for every book they burned. On Wang Shimin's order, they carried all the books out to be burned. Moments later, several strong young scholars piled the books up on the main street in front of the study. The street was packed, filled with onlookers. After Wang Shimin delivered an impassioned speech, "I threw a fire onto the pile of books." Instantly, a raging fire erupted. Zhu Wenhua watched the burning flames, feeling incredibly satisfied. So what if Shenlang's writing was good? I still burned it all. When the books were almost burned, Old Deng finally arrived with a few firefighters carrying water, but it was too late. But Wang Shimin kicked Old Deng away. "Who dares to stop me? Burning this poisonous weed is a crime against Lanshan City." Old Deng recklessly threw himself forward again. "Who says this is a poisonous weed? This is the new government decree issued by the National Army. Burning it is a crime of treason," he said as he pulled a book from the only bundle not completely burned in the fire. The cover clearly displayed the large characters, New Jing Decree. Zhu Wenhua and Wang Shimin's faces changed dramatically. Wang Shimin was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. He couldn't believe that a bookstore selling erotic albums would sell the Xinjiang Imperial Edict, a money-losing book of tens of thousands of words. This kind of book is usually a forced printing task, and no one sells it. When they saw Shenlang emerge from the crowd, he understood. This was all Shenlang's scheme. Why did the last package of books take so long to burn? Why did the cover of Boundless Love turn into the cover of the new policy decree as soon as it caught fire? It was all Shenlang's doing. Shenlang solemnly explained the law to everyone, openly defying the Yu Kingdom's new policy, and its secret laws would result in the forfeiture of all honors. 30 lashes and exile to Lantian Island. This was already a very heavy punishment at the time. Being stripped of my title basically means my future is ruined. 30 strokes of the cane will beat someone half to death. An exile to Lantian Island means complete isolation from the world. It's a death sentence. Hearing Shenlang's words, the surrounding scholars were too scared to move. Wang Shimin had lost his mind, and charged toward Shenlang like the wind. "Damn you, Shenlang, I'll fight you to the death." But he couldn't even touch Shenlang. A shriek like a slaughtered pig was heard. Wang Shimin's wrist had been broken by the golden bell. The fingers are connected to the heart. Wang Shimin convulsed in pain, tears streaming down his face. Shenlang is being smug after taking advantage of the situation. Everyone saw it. We are the rightful heirs to the throne. He started it. Then Shenlang squatted down, smiling as he looked at Wang Shimin. No one has ever offended me, and gotten away with it. This is just my little punishment. Zhu Wenhua, the one who instigated Wang Shimin, saw that the situation was unfavorable, and turned to sneak away. At this time, Shenlang shouted to Zhu Wenhua's lackeys, "Do any of you want to redeem yourselves? If you tell me who ordered you to burn the new policy edict, I can plead for leniency on your behalf." All the scholars' eyes immediately turned to Zhu Wenhua. Zhu Wenhua can't dodge this. He cursed Shenlang in his heart for being so shameless. Seeing that things were about to escalate, Lan Shan, who had been watching from the crowd, stepped forward. "It's so noisy here. What happened?" Ever since reading Shenlang's new book, Li Fang has held Shenlang in high regard. The reason I allowed this group of scholars to make trouble was to test how helpless Shenlang really is. But I never expected Shenlang to play this big, this ruthless. What grudge, what enmity. He actually wants to drag an entire family down with him. After seeing the city lord, Shenlang immediately approached, reporting, "My lord." Zhu Wenhua incited everyone to resist the new government policies. He burned the new policy edict issued by the National Army. He intends to rebel. Then, Shenlang said to Wang Shimin and Gunggo, "Do you still want to take the blame for someone else? This is treason." Wang Shimin and the others were clearly terrified when they heard the word treason. They pointed at Zhu Wenhua and immediately turned on him. Zhu Wenhua ordered us to burn the new policy edict. He's always been quite dissatisfied with the new policies. That's why he did this. Zhu Wenhua was furious. These opportunists are truly shameless. Shenlang looked at City Lord Li Fang. "Now with the witnesses and evidence present, can we close the case?" Li Fang was speechless. "I knew you were good, but I didn't expect you to be this good. You force others into a corner with a single move." Li Fang cupped his fists and bowed to Shenlang. "Young Master Shen, I've admired you for a long time. Your book, Boundless Romance, is truly a masterpiece. When will the second one be released? Could I have a word with you in private?" Seeing the city lord being so courteous, Shenlang followed him to a quiet place. Li Fang pleaded with Shenlang, "Young Master Shen, I know you want to drag the Viscount Lushan's estate into this, but the king just commended Viscount Lushan for handing over his fief and military power. If Zhu Wenhua were to oppose the new policies now, it would be a direct slap in the king's face. It will certainly incur the king's wrath. Besides, do you think the king will punish the Blue Mountain Viscount? It'll be difficult for the king. My life will be difficult too. Young Master Shen, please withdraw your divine power." Shenlang and his wife. Li Fang grinned. "I know all of this. Just enjoy the show, Your Excellency." Shenlang returned to the scene. Zhu Wenhua had calmed down by then. He had figured it out. He realized that framing Shenlang for assaulting him wouldn't work. He became arrogant again. Pointing at Shenlang, he said, "The city lord won't help you. What can a lowly live-in son-in-law like you do to me?" Shenlang glanced at him, not wanting to deal with him at all. "Wait until your father gets here. Someone get me some candy." Zhu Wenhua laughed loudly. "You still want my father to come see you? Who do you think you are? Just a lowly live-in son-in-law." He barely finished speaking. With a shout, Zhu of the blue shirts intervened. Seeing his father arrive, Zhu Wenhua was frightened and stood aside, not daring to speak. The blue shirt city lord stepped forward, bowed, and greeted him with cupped hands. But Zhu of the blue shirts only offered a cupped hand salute.